After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it sound art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with a speaker, the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it is you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
Built at the turn of the century and opened in 2001, Kansas Speedway lies in the West Village of Kansas City, Kansas, and plays as home field to many of NASCAR's Midwest hailing stars. Offering a young yet rich history, Kansas Speedway has seen its fair share of racing cars on its banks, including NASCAR, IndyCar, ARCA, Winston West, Indy Lights, CART, USAC Silver Crowns, and even Rolex Grand Am sports car events in its 20 years on the map. Today, of course, in PitStop TV's final production of the 2020 calendar year, the Bluegrass iRacing series thunders into the heart of America, bringing with it an evolving points battle and driver feuds to boot. Welcome, race fans. I'm Andrew Cardinale IV. Noah Carmichael and Joe Donahue join me virtually on the mic this evening. Trey Shuttlesworth is on social media coverage, and this is PitStop TV's live coverage of the Erich's Carpet Care 200 at Kansas Speedway. As usual, we want to thank you for tuning in across our multiple platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. We join you tonight from the virtual Kansas City for the 5th round of the Bluegrass iRacing series. We sincerely hope everybody had an amazing Christmas and holiday season as we run into the latter portion of said holiday season. New Year's literally around the corner in about 24 hours time. Boy, it's going to be a good one, and this is, I think, a pretty good send-off here, Noah, for the final broadcast of 2020 here for PitStop TV. Some more Bluegrass iRacing series action as they roll into their, yet again, 5th race on their very, very young season. It feels like just yesterday we were starting this season up.
Yeah, it's been a very quick season with how many races we've already been through. Daytona, Las Vegas, Martinsville, and Richmond. Just really 4 great events that have happened and end off the year here in Kansas in the middle of the heartland of America. It's sure to be a thriller. One of NASCAR's fastest tracks, one of the most entertaining tracks in the last couple of years. It should be no different here tonight for these Bluegrass drivers. They look to put on another great thriller here tonight.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that, Noah. I love Kansas. I love the way this track drives. It's one of those standard tracks, you know, it's not exceptionally unique in just initial appearance, but as a driver, I've always thought Kansas is a really special track, and it really gives you a good opportunity to prove that you're a good driver. And for the D-shaped ovals, it's one of the more unique ones, one of the more exciting ones to watch.
It really is, and something else exciting that we have to watch is this points battle on the screen. It's not too tight towards the top. You got the 3 wins. In fact, those blue names denote drivers locked into the playoffs here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series. After 12 races of 16, we will take the top 16 into a playoff format. And again, those blue names at the top, those 3 winners denote those that are locked in. Brandon Robertson, Casey Barlow, Justin Winters. Then you have everybody John Kinder on back. It gets very tight, though, at the back 10 of the top 20 that we now have on here for our point standing screen. Right in the middle there, you have Adam Lancaster, Wyatt Brackett, Nicholas Noggle, only 3 points apart, and then only 2 more points back. You have Gary Jaworski and Joshua Abbey right in that pocket as well. It's literally a 1-point difference between being in the playoffs right now and not if you're Nicholas Noggle and Gary Jaworski. So it's very, very important to execute on every single level. Go up there and grab the pole if you can, get a point for that. Go up there and lead a lap during the race if you can. Just try and get every position you can throughout the course of tonight's race and every race we have leading up to the start of the playoffs. Charlotte next week also going to be super important. We do want to thank real quick Erich's Carpet Care for coming on board and sponsoring tonight's event. We haven't had an event sponsor here for the Bluegrass iRacing Series until now, and we have the Erich's Carpet Care 200. You'll hear us talk more about them throughout the course of tonight's race, and they are, of course, wishing good results to Bryce Lee Hunter in the number 9 car tonight. Currently on track, you're going to see a lot of cars getting warmed up and getting qualifying here so far. And Osborne on the racetrack, he was 5th, now he's 6th. And Alan Dobbs goes to the top of the board. David Brackett is out there as well. Most of the field, I think, has already taken a lap, but a few still trying to get up to speed and take their qualifying lap. Ronnie Shirk is one of those.
Yeah, these times, like we see a lot of the time happen later on in the qualifying session towards the final few minutes. You see those the last drivers that wait until the very end come out here, and they end up setting these flyers. Like Brandon Robertson, he goes out late. Casey Barlow, Justin Winters, Joshua Abbey, a lot of heavy hitters that wait a little bit longer than some of these other drivers. So it's going to be a minute until we see just how much these guys were going to shake things up, because as of right now, Robertson is still sitting on pit road, and he's going to be the one everyone's going to have to watch, as he has been on a roll since the start of the season and looks to be one of the favorites for this championship when the playoffs come around.
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely watch Brandon Robertson tonight. He's been very strong and consistent through these last few races. And granted, we have had short track racing, So a little bit of a switch up from Martinsville and Richmond, where we were short track racing. Now we're at a regular speedway, but obviously Brandon Robertson showed last season he can win just about anywhere he goes and be competitive, so certainly would have to watch him as well. But definitely going to watch the guys that are racing for that cutoff in the championship. There's plenty of time left before the playoff cutoff actually occurs, but you need to be consistent the whole way through this season if you want to be competitive and get into the playoffs. There are just so many good names and so many great drivers running consistently and running strong out here in this Bluegrass iRacing series that you just need points every weekend. Every Wednesday, I should say. You need points every time you get on track. You need to be competitive. You need to be running in the top 5. So guys like Jaworski, Abbey, Nick Noggle, Wyatt Brackett, definitely watch those guys to be kind of bringing it to the front and start getting aggressive at the end of the race.
One of those drivers getting more and more consistent since his Martinsville victory is Casey Barlow on the racetrack now, and he goes up to, where did he go? He goes 19th quick here in qualifying. Not the first lap that he won, and he's out there. I believe this would be his second lap, considering he's still at full song. We'll see how he does here his second time around, coming through turns 3 and 4 in the newly repainted number 51 Chevrolet Corvette Camaro ZL1 1LE. Where does he go on the board? He jumps up to 7th quick. I mean, leaves a little bit to be desired there, but still, I think a pretty good lap time. And these times are so close up at the top as well, separated by just 1.3 of a tenth, if you will, 0.138 of a second, I think is a better way to put it. Very, very tight towards the top of the standings, as per usual in these qualifying sessions. And, well, Noah, you were talking about Brandon Robertson, waiting on him to hit the racetrack. He has done exactly that.
He's going to come across the line and complete that first timed lap, and it's going to put him up 6th fastest on the board with a 30.003, almost breaking the 29 marker, and he might be able to do that because if it's anything like we saw at Casey Barlow, it looks to be that second lap is going to be faster than the first, so we're going to have to wait and see what that number 2 GM Goodwrench plus Chevrolet can do here as he powers through turns 3 and 4 and comes across the line. Now the big question is, can he beat Alan Dobbs for that pole time? Those two have been going at it week after week after week. We're going to have to see just what he can do as he comes across the line to complete lap number 2, and it is going to be fast enough for about still 6th position, so not going to boost himself up any further.
Yeah, so that second lap was faster for Brandon Robertson, but obviously he did not get the bump into the top 5 right there. You're watching Adam Lancaster on your screen right now. He's coming past the line. We'll see where he puts himself up on the timing and scoring list. He's running the high line through the first 2 corners, so he's starting his first lap right now, coming out of turn 2 for the first time. And if you follow the trend, the first lap should be the slower of the 2, but it's a really great way to measure where Adam Lancaster's looking at starting this race, is how well he can get through this first lap. And as he gets the tires up to temperature, lets a little bit of the fuel run off in the car and burn off, should have a little bit better car underneath him to do a second lap. But his first lap only puts him at 25th spot on the leaderboard.
Meanwhile, our most recent race winner, Justin Winter, is getting back into victory lane at Richmond a couple of weeks back before the holiday season got going. Justin Winter is currently sitting in 29th in qualifying. We'll see where his second lap puts him, up to 7th. So a big jump up there for him, 22 positions in fact. And you know what, a top 10 starting spot, nothing to scoff at all for the driver of the 52 Allen's Body Shop Chevrolet. So certainly big inroads he's making on those drivers up ahead. Alan Dobbs, you can see him sitting atop of the qualifying standings. Tyler Reed sits in 2nd place. Joshua Abbey 3rd. Matt Trineri, Matt Grenier goes up to 3rd place. That bumps Joshua Abbey to 4th. Matt Trineri in 5th. Nicholas Noggle sets his qualifying lap. He gets up into 9th.
All we have left right now is CJ Mason, but it looks like he's not even in the server to be able to make a lap, so it looks to be only 30 cars are going to be the starting grid. But still, you talk about it, a lot of heavy hitters now still up at the front. It's going to be amazing to see what they can do. Tyler Reed, one of the drivers I'm surprised by getting the outside pole. Maybe he's going to be able to break a breakout night and be able to run up here with the front contenders like we saw happen with Chris LeBourgeois back at Martinsville and Richmond a couple weeks ago. A lot of drivers in the past few weeks have really started to pick up the pace that we've seen run towards the back end, and they've really started to show their pace. Looks like it might be Tyler Reed's night here tonight with the way that qualifying lap went.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Noah. And we did watch Tyler Reed stay fairly consistent last time we came out at Richmond. He was running up in the top 10 a couple times, and he did make some noise. He put his name up there And definitely, I was excited to see what Tyler Reed would bring to the table here at Kansas from his pretty solid performance at Richmond when we came out 2 weeks ago. But obviously, starting on the outside pole would be an excellent way to stamp your name into the book. And there are so many great names in this series that we know the names of Alan Dobbs and Joshua Abbey, Mac Rainier, other guys up in the top 5 with Tyler Reed. And Tyler Reed, I think, is working on solidifying himself as one of those heavy hitters in this series. And especially with the way he's come out and shown his stuff very early on as his first season with this series, and being able to put it on outside pole is pretty impressive with all these guys in the field.
Into the final 5 minutes of this qualifying session. At this point, we're just, I think running this session down, considering CJ Mason, as Noah said, the final car that has not put a time down but is not in this session. So I think these guys are just getting a chance to kind of debrief if they've got spotters. I know some of these guys do. In fact, Justin Winters, we talk about Alex Huffman out in the chat a lot. His spotter, if they've got a team to talk with, be it their teammate drivers or teammate spotters, crew chiefs, whatever, they can talk with them, kind of debrief, think about. Yeah, we don't talk about this very often, actually, guys, but you can adjust a couple of things even in these fixed setup races. You can, in fact, adjust the brake bias, which is a pretty normal, I think, setting to mess with. But one interesting one is the steering box in these race cars these guys can adjust. And it's more of a driver preference thing, to be honest, but it can aid the driver in saving tires if they go with a particular steering box. Basically, you go with a smaller steering box, a steering ratio, say 8-to-1, 10-to-1. Every degree of movement is amplified by that much more, actually. If you go down on the steering ratio, it means you're making quicker movements with a smaller movement of your actual wheel. Because obviously this is iRacing. We have a wheel in our bedrooms, living rooms, whatever. So the smaller movement then with the smaller box translates to more movement of the actual wheel in the race car. If you go on a higher steering ratio, it makes it a little bit, I guess, more muted, if you will. It takes a lot more to turn the wheel. It means you could turn the wheel a whole lot farther before you're turning that much further in the game. And at least personally, I feel like that helps me save tires. It means I have a little more play in the wheel. I don't have to be on such a fine line. And I just like to feel like I'm actually turning the car. But Noah, I'm sure you have different experiences. How would you adjust your car? How would you change the steering box for this kind of race?
Well, for most of the factors, the only time I've ever really changed steering ratio would be on the super speedways like Talladega and Daytona. When I raced back in the NR days, someone that was told by now Coke Series driver Derek Justice, who I want to give a shout out to for making the Coke Series last week, what he told me was in qualifying laps, pump that thing to 32 and go out there, because what you would be able to do is you'd be able to move the wheel more, but still hold that steady line in the corners to get those fast laps, and that worked for a while. Obviously, on iRacing, it's a bit different. I found that we're using the 16 steering ratio in qualifying always worked, but again, it's just a really big thing of how you preference it. Obviously, the higher you go, the more wheel you're going to have to give, so it gives you just a lot more to work with, so that way you can twitch the wheel a little bit, but you don't have to worry about the car going up and down the racetrack in the cars. So, and for this one, I usually leave it to what iRacing would put it on, but again, it's just really up to driver preference. The only time that I've ever messed with it is on those big 2-mile super speedways that you're used to seeing every now and again.
Yeah, I've played with this a couple times myself, and it depends on a lot of settings that the drivers themselves play with and adjust to their liking with their steering wheel, their setup, and it changes based off of what steering wheel they have, what rig they have, and whatnot. But if you have less play in the steering wheel, I've always thought that's kind of a good way, like Andrew said, to save tires, but also when something crazy might happen in front of you, it kind of lets you have a little more control over the car. It's harder to spin out and lose control if you're checking up behind an incident when your steering setup isn't as precise. And I think with a stock car, having a less precise steering wheel setup is kind of what you want. It's a little better for the weight to tire ratio of a stock car, which is a pretty heavy race car compared to the Goodyears that we're running on, which are fairly small for the car. So like Andrew said, and that's the same, it parallels my personal preference, is to turn that down, make that tighter, and have it be a little bit less touchy when I'm coming through the corners and running down straightaways, because I want the car to be pointed straight as much as possible. Try to scrub as little speed off as you can when you make those small adjustments with the steering wheel. So that kind of thing does give you a chance to run quicker down the straightaways, but It does kind of bite you in the corners if you start having problems with your steering setup. You have to set up your wheel and your computer right to do whatever you have to do, but obviously you can eliminate some of the scrubbing and tire wear if you turn it down.
Yeah, it's certainly one of those things that these drivers will be talking about, thinking about, trying to figure out for themselves, and it is mostly a preference thing. It's not going to give you speed in a vacuum per se, but over the course of a run, again, it's going to affect how you wear your tires, and therefore will affect the tires, the grip, and I guess in the end, the speed that you have towards the end of a run. But you can save the same amount of tire at any steering box. It's just a matter of what works best for the driver. We're now moving straight into our race. Of course, as per usual, we finally get to go down the grid. And, well, I don't think it's any surprise that we see the number 3 up front here. Noah Alan Dobbs going to roll off from the pole position. Tyler Reed roll off second place in the number 14. In row number 2, it's Matt Grenier on the inside. On the outside, it's Joshua Abbey. Row back to row number 3 on the inside. And starting in 5th is Matt Trenary. Starting 6th, Jack Bauer. How about that starting spot for the driver of the 48? In 7th, we're going to have Brandon Robertson, one of the heavy hitters, alongside of the other, I think, big heavy hitter of the series, continuing from season 1, Justin Winters, starting 8th after his Richmond Raceway victory. Nicholas Noggle right there as well. He'll start 9th, and John Kinder, another one of the big stars here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, will roll off 10th.
Rolling back off in P11 is going to find a 51 Casey Barlow, one of the newcomers, but has surely made his name known. He starts 11th alongside him, the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. Starting back in position number 13 is going to be the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. Lining alongside him will be the number 8 of Mitch Smith. Starting back in P number 15 and the 97 of Nathan Maurer, a guy who on a given weekend, given the right amount of time, is one of the fastest drivers. He has yet to really pull off the win, but he can do it at any given moment, with Doug Neal lining up in the 16th alongside him. Behind them is going to be the number 42 of Ed Osborne, a guy starting to make his name known again after running in the back in the midfield. Has really started to put his name out there up in the front. Next to him has been number 88 of Wes Wiegand. And then rounding out your top 20 is going to be the number 38 of David Bracken, with the number 18 of Gary Jazorski lining up P20.
Inside in 21st position, that's Michael Brisson in the red number 71 car on your screen. And to his outside is going to be the driver out of Pennsylvania in the number 1 car is Scott Fritz. Rolling off 23rd, another Pennsylvania driver. This one in the number 113 is Daniel Worthington. And to his outside, going to be one of those strong guys we look to see moving towards the front through the course of this one is Ronnie Shirk. Starting in 25th on the inside, kind of a surprise in qualifying. He's so far back, but Adam Lancaster knows how to get to the front. He's going to be doing everything he can to get up there himself. To his outside is going to be that number 83 machine of Chris LeBourgeois. Starting in 27th, as we're coming to the green quick, so we'll quickly round it out with Alex Brown and Brian Terry in 27th and 28th, and rounding out your field would be Nick Mills and Ryan Smith. They're coming to the green now, so look out. 134 laps here at Kansas, and Alan Dobbs leads us down. Green flag racing.
Green flag in the Erich's Carpet Care 200 at Kansas Speedway. Alan Dobbs immediately clear of the rest of the field. It's Matt Grenier on his bumper cover. Tyler Reed, not a great start, but that happens on the outside line. He'll have to work with the 5 car behind him. That's Joshua Abbey. Immediately single file towards the front of the field, and things are getting sorted out pretty quick.
Yeah, the usual scene here in Bluegrass. Number 3 of Alan Dobbs starts with the front. He just runs away here in the early going. Going to have to depend on how quickly these guys can catch back up to him. But right now, Matt Grenier seeming to be right on his tail, trying to bring the fight to the number 3. As look at Joshua Abbey back there in the 5 car, jumping up the 3rd. Going to see if he can hold it up there, as he's got a pack of hungry drivers trying to take over that 3rd spot.
Abbey got a great race start, and he got all over Tyler Reed, and Brandon Robertson's trying to come with him. This is a really great race shaping up between these 3 drivers early on in the running. Want to get as much time made up as possible for these guys. Try to stay with Alan Dobbs and Matt Grenier at the beginning of this race. Try to run clean up front and avoid any information that comes to you, and bring it in and just do a really good job of get that car up front and stay there over the course of the race. It all depends on that starting position.
we're already seeing a big dynamic of this race take place, where these guys are all running up towards the wall. It's white through most of the racetrack, then it ends up green down the backstretch with the American ethanol signage. You see these guys fighting to the top line, much like Darlington Raceway almost, where there's just a little bit more grip up there. There's more banking. There's more for these guys to lean on. It's almost like running a dirt track where you're running up on the cushion, and you just want to get up there and use that progressive banking, the Kyle Larson line, the old Dale Earnhardt Jr. line. But if you run right on that seam, right where those dotted hashes are through the corners, you can actually kind of put some wedge into the car. Take some, give the left side a little bit of grip and actually help the car bite. And you'll see Brandon Robertson does that. He gets down onto that little bit lower banking middle groove. It's almost like if you get onto the apron at Richmond or something and you try and de-wedge the car. It'll help you turn just a little bit, but you've got to be really, really careful with it because you are running on a seam. And while it is ones and zeros when you break it down, it is binary, it is pixels. This is still a laser scanned racetrack, and it is pretty, I'd say, honors the actual grip levels both on the pavement and those seams that are filled in with sealant. That you can lose a little bit of grip if you run right on those seams and aren't very careful with it. You can lose left side grip, and you can actually end up turning the car around pretty easily. Getting very, very loose here in the early going is not something you want to do. Up at the front, Alan Dobbs still runs the show. Matt Grenier second place, then it's Joshua Abbey, Tyler Reed, Brandon Robertson now 5 laps in.
Right now, Alan Dobbs just sailing away here in the early goings, much like what we saw back a while back. Throwback here earlier in the year when we had Galaxy, Bryson Hixenbaugh, if you remember that name. He was here. He ran away with it just as easily here in the early goings as the field just still trying to catch up with him. Right now, Alan Dobbs just has absolute total control here in the early goings, already up to a 1.2 second lead as Joshua Abbey still holding on strong there on the number 5 Chevrolet back there in third as he's trying to chase him down. But right now, he is really starting to show up the pace here in the early going. You talk about the grip levels. It just remembers, you talk about running on the seam. The one good thing about the difference between iRacing and the real life is, unlike at Kansas, I think it was actually the last track that happened when they had the water coming out of the seams and they had to use a concrete saw to cut the track up and get the water out of it, so they don't have to worry about those kind of issues like you would at Fontana or even Chicagoland. So just one of the interesting things, the factors that comes into a race like this. But right now, Alan Dobbs is seemingly finding the way to work around it.
I have never seen Alan Dobbs jump up to such a great lead so early on. I don't think this is something you see very often, even in this series, is somebody just blowing away the field so quickly off the start. Makes me wonder if he's got a short run car or if maybe the guys behind him are set up more to run a long stint and try to catch up over the course of the run. Maybe Grenier, Abbey, Reed, those guys will start catching up as we progress through this run before we get to pit stops. But for the moment, Alan Dobbs is just ticking them off. He's already got a 2-second lead over Grenier and Abbey in tow with Grenier. So they're not racing too hard with each other. They should be able to make some time up running in the line with each other and running in tandem, trying to draft up there together and not race each other too hard. But Alan Dobbs is still just checking out on them.
How about these guys up at the front, though? Joshua Abbey, Tyler Reed, even Jack Bauer in 6th place. This is really, I think, a very happy sight to see. I'd say a very happy surprise that these guys are running so far up towards the front. Even Matt Trineri breaking into the top 10 currently in the 10th position in the number 62 Chevrolet. Very cool to see these guys up here. Granted, it's only lap 10 of 134. There's still a very long ways to go, not even a tenth of the way in. But seeing these guys up here and running with the best of the Bluegrass iRacing series, I think is actually a very good example of the practice races these drivers and teams do. A big thing with Jason Collins and the rest of the Bluegrass iRacing series is hosting those practice races throughout the week. And, well, those are actually helped out by people like Erich's Carpet Care sponsoring the series and chipping a little bit of extra cash their way as, Tyler Reed gets up into the wall there. Hurts the right side of that car, hopefully not too badly. You can kind of kiss the wall and get away with it, but you never want to do so early on. You can see a little bit of damage there. Nothing too bad, but the sponsors really being able to allow these guys to do a ton of practice races because, of course, hosting servers on iRacing costs a little bit of money. So every little thing helps these guys out and, in turn, helps the drivers out and gets them much more prepared for races like this where you're seeing Joshua Abbey, Tyler Reed, Jack Bauer, Matt Trineri really have really good opening runs.
Yeah, one of the great things always about these leagues, seeing these sponsors chip in, because back in like I bet even the early 2000s when NR was not even made, who would have thought like about 20 years later, you're seeing real life brands coming in here and sponsoring these sim racing series. And it's just one of the great things that you see coming on is like Rims One or today Erich's Carpet Care, just more and more people getting into sim racing, trying to branch into motorsports. They get an eye in here and they're getting their name out there. But you talk about people like Jack Bauer running up in the top 10. It's one of the interesting things about this league that we don't really see out of a whole lot of others is while, yes, there are the names out there that are the top guys, the talent isn't that far out there like real life NASCAR, because even this early in the season up to about the midway point, we're like about for the last 10 spots in the chase, they're separated by 20 points. So the talent level between these drivers is just so slim. And it's why you're able to see drivers like Jack Bauer running up here with the peoples of the likes of Brandon Robertson, John Kinder, and Justin Winters. You see these new names come in here and make their name known here on Bluegrass iRacing to run up here and potentially fight for the championship.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, and I was going to talk on that championship for the drivers because Jack Bauer is so far down that list right now, and this is just the kind of stuff he needs. He needs solid, consistent performances. He needs to get into the top 10, get into the top 5. These are the things that Jack Bauer needs to start ticking off, and he's got plenty of time as we're watching Brandon Robertson getting very cozy with the tail of the number 14 car going into turn number 3 with Jack Bauer in behind him. But for Jack Bauer, this kind of run, he needs to start putting together consistent runs like this, and he'll be able to fight for that playoff. Because like you said, Noah, the talent isn't spread very far. I mean, there's a lot of really great drivers competing for those 16 spots in the playoffs. And as you see Tyler Reed get up into the wall again there on your screen, and allows Jack Bauer to get through. John Kinder is going to follow suit on the bottom of turn 2. It's just a good chance for him. Same for our guy in third place, Joshua Abbey, who's got to try to put together a little bit more to solidify his position in the top 16 right now. He's 2 points out in 18th, so this kind of run for him is also just really good, and this is the kind of stuff that we expect to see from these guys as we get to the playoffs.
John Kinder got that spot. He gets up into 6th place. Tyler Reed continues his slide. Now Justin Winters in behind him. Further back, Nicholas Noggle and Casey Barlow. They're fighting out of turn number 2. Matt Chineri in behind. And even Bracely Hunter back there. He's carrying our sponsor tonight, Erich's Carpet Care. But right now the battle off into turns 3 and 4. Noggle working the top side. Almost running that cushion. Gets a big run out of the corner. And that's why you run that top side. Gives you that big launch for the straightaway. And Barlow now falling victim to Matt Chineri. That bottom is just so hard to run and run correctly and run quickly, and that's exactly why you want to run up towards the wall. As Nicholas Noggle got the wall on entry to the corner. These guys really mixing things up. Chineri gets crossed over after pulling a bit of a slider into one, and now Barlow back to the bottom.
That's what we've come to see here. This midfield fight, just like F1, is so entertaining to watch because these guys are all over each other lap after lap after lap. And what we're seeing is these guys try to get the entry on the top side, but they just overdrive the entry. And once you do that, all you can do is hold on and hope you don't send that car around. But man, this bottom side is really starting to be a tough task for these guys to get. What we're seeing right now, Casey Barlow, he's trying to do a good old-fashioned slide job here in 1.5 miles, trying to get a Machineri who gets a little loose off turn number 2. He's trying to pull a slide job and get this pass done, and it's just not working out for them here in the early goings. And remember, we have to only make the lap 64. That's when we're going to see that halfway stage break play into effect. These drivers are really 67, my bad, relating to lap 67 is going to be the halfway break here in this race, as again this 3-car fight up here for a top 10 spot is really heating up here. They send it back down on the 1.
Man, I'll tell you, they were almost 3 wide going into turn number 1, and these guys are all rookies. This is all their first time racing in the official race at Kansas with the Bluegrass guys. You see Nathan Maurer might try to shake things up a little bit. He gets into that corner a lot quicker than the 9 going into the turn. Bryce Hunter was a little bit more conservative going in, and Nathan Maurer had to check up to avoid contact. You're on board with the 33 of Wyatt Brackett. This is about to become a 5-car fight here in just looking on the inside of the top 10. Wyatt Brackett obviously running in 14th right now, trying to get up there and try to get into the top 10 with these rookies up front who've now put a little bit of a gap in between Maurer and Hunter right there. But down the backstretch again, you see the run that they get off the top side. Maurer's got a lot of momentum. He might try to carry it through turn 3. He checks up a little bit right there, so he thought better of it. These guys basically just train running through the top line of the corners until they get a chance to make a move.
This is almost a 6 or 7 car fight, and there's another one behind them. You can see this pack coming by as well. Doug Neal's in the middle of that, but we continue to watch that fight that's been going on. Now Wyatt Brackett up the inside of Nathan Maurer. Adam Lancaster's here as well. You see a bunch of the leaders. They're all spread out. They're single file. Then you have these mid-pack mini packs as they're fighting off into 3. There goes Wyatt Brackett back to the inside of the 97. He's now working on Bryce Hunter. I think Hunter's starting to hold these guys up just a little bit. Something might have happened to that number 9 car. He might have worn his tires out, but now you see, even if he's a bit slower, that top side really helps him even things back out and hold on to that position. It's really easy to defend up there, but if you get somebody who's really saved his tires, they can definitely paint that white line and work their way by you. It's just a little bit tougher. You see Barlow's still in behind. It looks like the Toyota of Nicholas Noggle. Chineri's in between, and then you have this 4-car fight. A little further back is where we saw Scott Fritz and some others fighting. Doug Neal, Mitch Smith, they're all going at it. Mitch Smith on the inside of Neal. You see Ronnie Shirk on the inside of David Brackett as well.
These guys just all over each other lap after lap after lap, and they're not missing a beat. And you see the 8 car down there at the bottom trying to get the run in the turn of 1, but it's not going to work, as it looks like Michael Brisson is still going to be able to have that draft from the 77 of Doug Neal up in front of him. That's going to allow him to pull ahead, but no one looked too far behind him. Ronnie Shirk Jr. was making a 3 wide as they make contact off of turn number 2 as these guys are going at it. Newt and the nail for these positions. They're not even for stage point positions. They're just racing the race, as now Shirk Jr. going to try and make a 2-for-1 off of turn number 4. Going to be really tight squeeze trying to make it down the front straightaway, but these guys are putting on a clinic here, trying to put on an entertaining show here in the early going to this race.
You saw David Brackett getting a great run down the front stretch and into the corner. Obviously, Brisson makes a pretty significant gap between him and the 7 and 8 cars who are still running side by side, but Shirk and Mitch Smith definitely showing us a good race right now down the back straightaway. Brisson's draft helped the number 8 a little bit into that corner, so he gets the edge running on the top side of the corner with David Brackett in tow. Shirk might be looking to try to cut back up in line right here and try to reduce the amount of loss that he gets out of running the inside line for so long. It's a tough run down the straightaways. That's really where it's been biting Ronnie Shirk Jr. is the momentum that the 8 car's been carrying off the top side down the straightaways is where he's been making that lead over the 7 that now you see Mitch Smith and Ronnie Shirk Jr. go single file into turn number 3 again. Shirk kind of running a middle line right here rather than the top side where Mitch Smith is, as we got a car coming down pit lane.
That's Doug Neal on the bottom side. He comes in and he pits very early, actually. Actually, no, it's not that early. We're right about where the fuel is going to take these drivers to, so maybe just trying to undercut some of these guys he was fighting with. We're talking about drivers fighting, though, for about 20th position. I think that's the first time we've done so this early in a race, and it's just by virtue of these guys having some great battles so far. Brisson down to the bottom side. Smith trying to, Mitch Smith trying to work to his outside. He'll do so. It looks like the 71 going to come in and pit. A very, very easy pit entry from him, taking things very nice and smoothly. It looks like some things have changed up at the front as Alan Dobbs, it looks like, has already made his pit stop, trying to find the number 3 car, and here he is on the pit lane. So yes, Alan Dobbs very early to the pit lane as well, and we'll see how the rest of the field reacts.
Matt Grenier going to go in there in a really big slide. He's trying to save it. He is almost going to go sideways. He keeps it from going back onto the racing surface, so he will not get a unsafe pit entry, but that was a very close call for the number 15 Snap-on Ford Mustang as he makes the long drive down pit road. Joshua Abbey going to follow him as well. That gives the lead now to Brandon Robertson, with Jack Bauer following not too far behind there in second, along with John Kinder. But that's what I was going to talk about. This pit entry is so really hard to get onto. It just so happened that Michael Brisson was able to show an easy way to do it, but you lose so much time doing that, as now Robertson and Kinder are going to go down pit road right behind each other. As Kinder with a late stint going to get right on the back bumper of that too, as just as I was expecting. About 25 to 30 laps we talked about before the broadcast went live. Just that's how long these fuel runs are going to last with the half fuel that these drivers can run, as now you see a big group of the cars making their way down pit road for the first round of stops, split the stage in half almost.
Yeah, basically everybody's coming through the pits at this point. You're watching Brandon Robertson very smooth and steady into his pit box. Tyler Reed goes into his. You can see Nick Noggle on your screen in the back as well. Your race leader was Jack Bauer, at least for a second. His number and Nick Mills go back and forth as the two of them come into pit lane. And Jack Bauer, so he will relinquish that spot on the track as he's going to come get some fresh Goodyears and some more fuel to get him to the end of this stage. You're watching the number 46 of Nick Mills right now. He has acquired the race lead, and as the cars who have pitted, that's Justin Winters and Casey Barlow to his outside, go around, you can see the speed difference of getting the new Goodyears on the car, getting some fresh rubber, and having that speed from the refreshing new Goodyears, and that's just what it's going to do. That's just how it's going to run out for Nick Mills, as he now will relinquish that. He sees all these guys who've pitted coming past him, and he knows
he's going to miss it
He's going to miss
entirely.
his pit stop. He's going to miss the pit lane entirely. I don't know. He's trying to come in a way that will not give him a penalty.
Did he
for
make
an
that
unsafe
work?
Pit entrance. That might have worked. That was the way to do it. That's the way to cut back in to avoid an unsafe pit entry penalty. But
you know what? This might be our certified oof of the week. What? He makes it work. He got him before the yellow cone. You know what? Hey, if it works, I suppose. I liken that almost to Chase Elliott's pit crew member getting back to the wall before he got the penalty for being over the wall too soon. You know what? We'll clap real quick here for Nick Mills. That's impressive that he made that one work. I thought for sure he was going to get himself some kind of penalty or something for that, and didn't even draw a yellow or anything for it. So props to Nick Mills for making all of that work for him, but he does lose a lap, as there goes Alan Dobbs. No, you said something very interesting a few minutes ago, how they're almost splitting this stage in half. Well, they're actually quite shy of it, aren't they? Because we're coming up to halfway in this stage, and we have drivers that have been on the racetrack now for 5 laps. Gary Jaworski for 11. In fact, he's riding in, well, he was in 8th. Now he's in about 12th position or so. And, boy, this is a big battle ahead of him as well. So these guys are going to have to pit again before the end of this stage. Very interesting that nobody really tried to stretch fuel out to lap 33.
Well, again, that kind of brings up the idea of strategy playing. You talk about you're going to be about maybe 5 to 7 laps short, depending how long you're going to stay there. Alan Dobbs is going to be a surprising factor. He's one of those drivers that could be praying a caution comes out here in the next half of this first stage in order to get him back down pit road to be able to keep his lead. A guy I would watch out for is Justin Winters. We talk to him week after week after week. He is a guy who's able to capitalize on situations like this, where you come in, you're a little bit short. He's able to find that little bit of fuel or tire wear that he can go out there and beat him. If you can't beat him on the track, you beat him in the pits, and that is Justin Winters' specialty that gets him into these situations where he can go out there and fight for championships. That's a guy I want to watch. But you talked about Nick Mills with the pit save there. I wouldn't even really call that an oof moment, because an oof moment would have been if he missed it entirely. That's not an oof moment there. That's a save of the week, because that might have just saved his race and what he had there, because now he can go out there, fight Mitch Smith, and get his lap back. But, man, what a way to start the first half of this race. These guys have not missed a beat. Anywhere you look, there's a fight on the track taking place. You see now between Jack Bauer and Brandon Robertson as they enter now into turn number 1.
I think that's a really great talking point for the Bluegrass iRacing series, is that we've had this green flag run. We've had a pit stop. You'd think that the field would spread out, but no, we've got a 4-car group right here with cars side by side coming into the corner. I mean, they're still racing each other, at least, and especially hard enough that we get a car going into the wall, just trying to run so quickly and run so aggressively in through the corners that they're still getting up and getting a little squirrely at the top end of the racetrack. It just speaks on how competitive these cars are and how competitive the drivers are with each other, that even through 37 laps of green flag racing and a pit cycle, we've still got cars side by side. And if we got a yellow, it would obviously lengthen out the amount of time that the guys can run between pit stops. And if that were the case, we could probably get to the stage break. And maybe that's what these guys were expecting or wanting, but we've seen it with the Bluegrass series. There are tracks we go to that just are green flag runs. It's just a long stint of green flag racing, and right now we've got that. So they're just going to have to take the blows. They're just going to have to go in for another pit stop if they need to get to the end of the stage. With fuel, obviously the fuel settings for these cars right now is they can get about to the 30 lap mark. That's where they all started coming in last time. So we'll just have to see if maybe we get a yellow to lengthen it out, or if they do start changing the strategy. But you just kind of have to roll with it, because what we've got right here is just a long green flag race so far.
Yeah, what we've got is the makings for a really good strategy race, possibly. I think the second leg of this race, since we split this race up into 2 equal portions, and we'll have that caution that eats into our second stage a little bit, we might just open things up to a possible fuel-saving victory if that second portion of today's race goes green flag. On board with Justin Winters, chasing down Matt Grenier. It was down to 0.3 of a second. It's since opened back up as Casey Barlow continues to try and, well, actually, no, he just got passed by Brandon Robertson. So now Robertson actually trying to take off and get away from the 51 car. And Robertson did pit 3 laps later than Casey Barlow. So that's making all the difference right now. Certainly those fresher tires on the number 2 car. Making a big difference for him. Wyatt Brackett further back, he's battling currently with a lapped car, actually. This is Brian Terry on the inside in the Marines number 13 Chevrolet Camaro. And it sounded like Noah had something for us.
I thought you were done there for a second, but no. What I was going to point out here is actually a fight starting to brew up here for the 4th position between John Kinder and Jack Bauer. And just as I say that, Jack Bauer gets up into the wall for turn number 2, which basically gives him a commentator's curse right there. But Jack Bauer, what I was going to say, we've talked about him a couple of laps ago. He was fighting Brandon Robertson back there for the 6th spot. And just about the few laps since then, he gained about 4 seconds or in the back bumper of John Kinder. So I don't know if he's running up those tires or has found something with that number 48 Ally Chevrolet. But right now, he is tearing through this field and just putting on it probably the race of his life here tonight. Because yes, he's been running up here in the top 10, but we've not seen him be able to run this high up for this long, because now he is within striking distance to go out there and fight John Kinder and Justin Winters, which is something that not a whole lot of people can do week in and week out. And right now, that's exactly what to see, as the usual sight is the 2 black and green machines going to go side by side here the next few laps, as Kinder and Winters have been going at it since the inaugural season back at Daytona. These guys have been able to find each other every single week and race each other, and that's what we're going to see here as Kinder looks to try and get the move done.
Yeah, like you said, Noah, Winters and Kinder have raced each other just so many times. They would know how to race each other. They know where the strong suit points of the other driver are on this track, and they could capitalize on that. John Kinder dives into turn 3. We might get a good old slide job out of the number 21 machine. We'll maybe see an over-under crossover from Justin Winters. Not going to happen this time. Down the front stretch, they switched positions, but they're still nose to tail. Justin Winters trying to stay in the draft of that 21 machine. They both run the high line through turns 1 and 2. It does look like Kinder has a little bit better run through these corners, and the gap starts building. I think Justin Winters might be losing that 21 machine, so that fight does get ended pretty quickly from John Kinder, is a little bit aggressive and gets that gap in between them. You're looking at Matt Grenier right now, running down the front straightaway again, and Matt Grenier's been very impressive this season. He's running behind that guy, Alan Dobbs, who's just absolutely tearing away as the race leader. But we got to talk about how well Grenier's been doing at the start of this season.
I'm going to have to cut in real quick, Joe. He is not chasing down Alan Dobbs. Alan Dobbs is pitted again, and I wonder, that could not have been a penalty. That was pretty late for a penalty. I think he is short pitted here to run to the end. He pitted 1 lap ago, and he's not alone. Wyatt Brackett now down the pit lane. This is very interesting strategy. I think these guys realized they couldn't go to the end, so they want to split up the wear on these tires and split it into about 15, 20 laps apiece. And hey, you know what? I think that's a pretty solid plan. Alan Dobbs has given up the race lead.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That caught me off guard, too. I was looking, did he get the penalty? No, he didn't. He was up at 10 seconds about a lap ago. So, yeah, he is trying to pull out pit strategy. As you saw a little bit of smoke, I think that was just a little bit of a connection issue as we stayed green. But a guy you were talking about, Justin Winters, losing the draft at the 21, I don't think he's losing the draft because of the pre-out speed. I think just what I was talking about when this first pit cycle ended, he is doing what I always expect him to do, what we've always, and that is playing the fuel strategy. He's running probably a bit about a half throttle or anything like that to try and save a little bit of fuel to stretch this run out longer. John Kinder might be able to do the same, but right now he's just running away with it with how aggressive he was, trying to get around him with that good old-fashioned slide job in turns 3 and 4. But just keep an eye on Justin Winters, because I think he is playing the fuel strategy game to try and stretch out and find those final 5 or 7 laps to get himself to the end of the stage and try and take a stage win.
I do think Wyatt Brackett would have been fairly reactionary, but Alan Dobbs definitely assessed his situation and decided that if we're going to be running green flag the whole way, I want to make sure I get that pit stop in sooner, because you can make up the time on track as it goes. And like Andrew said, if you separate the amount of time that you get your run on your tires, you'll have fresher tires for longer periods of time. Tires will just hold on longer when you get that when you get that second pit stop, as opposed to everybody else whose tires are much older than yours. They're going to start wearing down and not be as fast, and we've seen that on the racetrack already. But for Grenier right now, he's just taking off lead laps and getting some extra points. Obviously, the bonus points for leading a lap, and every lap you lead is just a chance to get closer and closer to the most laps led, which is yet another set of bonus points for you. So those types of points are very important, and we've seen not only from how competitive all the drivers are in this series, but from the ending of season 1, how important those extra points are. Right now, Matt Grenier yet to win a race this season. He's pretty comfortably into the top 16, running in 5th in the championship coming into the event. But any point counts, and I'm sure Matt Grenier's thinking about that right now.
We flash back a little bit to a battle for round 11th, 12th, and 13th. The field is so spread out across this racetrack right now, by the way, that the scoring is having trouble updating and rendering everybody on the racetrack. It's just everybody's spread out right now. Scott Fritz in behind Doug Neal. This is for about 11th and 12th. No, actually, no, 12th and 13th, as Ronnie Shirk is in about 11th position up ahead. Again, you see the scoring having its fair share of problems up there. It's just... These guys are really, I've not seen a race like this in a while, actually, on iRacing in general, where the field just gets so spread out like this. You have their mini battles in between. It's a lot like an endurance race, actually, where the field just spreads out, does their own thing, and you have those mini battles that pop up all across the racetrack, Noah.
Yeah, it's kind of like the 24 Hours of Le Mans that they always talk about. No matter where you look on this racetrack, there's somebody battling with somebody, but that's on a 7-mile racetrack, and this is a 2.5 mile, not even 2, it was a mile and a half. Just everywhere you go, these guys are at each other's throats trying to take the position away from one another. So if I was having scoring, I'd be having trouble keeping up too. Just everywhere you look, there's somebody trying to get the move done on somebody else. And right now, it's Scott Fritz versus Doug Neal. These guys are bumper to bumper off the corner, turn number 4 to come across the line. It looks like Scott Fritz might try to get the move up on the high side. It looks like he's going to give it to him and take that position away. But man, this is just entertaining, as it looks like we might be having a few more leaders preparing to make their way down pit road as well.
Yeah, they're going to have to come in again to get to the end of this stage. So long as it stays green, Justin Winters accepts that and accepts the charge of coming down pit lane just now. You see that 52 running down the Allen's Body Shop Chevy, but one thing that benefits these guys that they've waited is they can short fuel if they so please, put less fuel in the car, so they're sitting still for less time on pit lane, which obviously translates to less time lost on the racetrack. Not sure who will take that opportunity, how much of that they will partake in at all, if Justin Winters is going to try to short fuel it and make this pit stop shorter to try to get out in front of Alan Dobbs, who was, as we had seen, the race leader before he relinquished that time to come to the pit lane. That's what they might want to try to use strategically to make time up on pit lane right now, because we're coming down to the closing stages of the stage, and it's the only way you can subsidize the amount of time that you're on pit lane and try to get in front of everybody else coming out and just kind of hold on as the last laps count down.
More cars in the pit lane here. There goes Chris LeBourgeois. We've got Scott Fritz down there as well. We saw Bryce Hunter in the Erich's Carpet Care colors. There he goes. Wow, really getting that car sideways on pit exit, does the number 9 of Bryce Hunter. Currently running in the 20th position, but that's all going to change here once everything cycles through in this set of pit stops. Matt Grenier still the race leader. He barrels off into turn number 1. And I'd imagine this New Hampshire driver doesn't really want to give this lead up at this point. He's made his bed. He's going to lie in it as well. He's going to go until the fuel runs out and then just try and take a very short pit stop like Joe was talking about and just run to the end. He goes to the inside to try and get by Scott Fritz, but those tires in the one car are going to come in quickly, and I'd imagine the one will start driving away. Is Grenier pitting right here? He is. Wow. That's actually a little bit earlier than I figured he would come in, so he's going to have about a 10-lap run to the end of stage number 1, and I would imagine that Alan Dobbs should take this lead right back away.
And right now, John Kander holding on to the race lead, 10 laps left, and that's about 3 laps left here on the fuel, at least for these drivers as now Kinder off of turn number 2. Jack Bauer actually closing the gap. He's about a half second. It looks like Kinder might be signaling to make his way down pit road. So he's going to try and react to the 15 and get him off the pits. As now here comes Bauer sliding down pit road, which will hand the lead over to Brandon Robertson, smoking the tires coming in, going to make those tires square. So he might want to wash those tires now, depending if he takes only fuel. But now Robertson going to take over the top spot as we see more and more of these drivers get the final bit of fuel they need to make it to the end of this halfway point of the race.
I really hope Jack Bauer didn't get a speeding penalty coming into the pits, because it looked close, and it looked like he probably got it, but that was a little close for comfort for the number 48 machine getting into the pit lane without going over the speed limit. And that's something that these guys have to watch out for coming into the pits, is that they don't overestimate and then speed into the pits and get a penalty, because that's, at this point in the stage, I mean, that's just a write-off for the stage. You're not going to be able to get up there and make up enough time if you have to come in and serve a penalty at this point. So definitely something that hopefully Jack Bauer doesn't have to deal with, and something that just everybody needs to avoid. And these drivers, they're very experienced. They know what they're doing, so they know that they have to avoid it, but everybody makes mistakes every once in a while. Somebody who hasn't made a mistake yet, and I hope I don't give him the commentator's curse, which has already happened once in this broadcast, but Alan Dobbs has just been showing the field. He's strutting his stuff. He's got what it takes right now at Kansas, and he's just been ticking off the laps consistently and much quicker than everybody else on the speedway. I think over the course of the race, if the other drivers are going to make adjustments that are going to help them catch up to this 3 car, it might give us a more interesting race for the front. But at the moment, I think Alan Dobbs is just showing he is flat and away the fastest car on the racetrack.
Yeah, I think it's all a matter of just catching the 3 car today, and it looks like Brandon Robertson finally comes down to the pit lane for service. He's actually on his way out now, so the lead does get turned over to the 3 of Alan Dobbs. Second place is the 38 of David Brackett, though. How about that? But he's got to come in and pit at least this one more. Well, yeah, he's got to pit this one more time, and he's going to do so now. He's going to give all of those spots back up, but he had his moment. I think he was trying to get a lap lead, couldn't quite do so before he got passed up. Nick Mills, I think he was trying to do the same thing. He has been passed up by Alan Dobbs already, and he still has to pit one more time in this stage. That should give second place, though, to John Kinder. How about that? Trying to get 9 points in this opening stage here at the Kansas Speedway. Matt Grenier then got passed by John Kinder, so a lot of time to be made up and lost for sure on pit entry and exit, and it looks like that's what's happened to the 15 car of Grenier. You see Jack Bauer back there as well. Looks like no penalty for him, so well, I'd say he's doing pretty good. And that was actually a really aggressive but really quick entry. I think he might have, there we go, had a slower exit, which backed him up from the, well, no, I was going to say, backed up from the 21 car, but actually, I think John Kinder might have done fuel only, and it's really starting to bite him here as these two are going to go right on by.
Yeah, we're questioning whether or not tires was a mover. Now it looks to be the case that, yes, you should have taken tires, as he is all the way up, getting ready to put a little bit of a stripe of his own on the wall. We talked about Jack Bauer having a little bit of rough pit entry. That's just seeming to be, like I talked about in the first round of pit stops, what everyone's going to deal with is just how tough it is to go on pit road, because everyone always talks about how it's Las Vegas, the track that has the hardest to get on pit road. I argue that this is harder than Las Vegas, because you have a huge amount of run up to get down the speed to the 45 mile an hour or so, depending on what Las Vegas has. But here, you get off that banking and you're on the flat going in there, you are right at that cone, so you are jamming on the brake as hard as you can, trying to get the car slowed down, and the adjustment of the banking just upsets that car every single time, and you're going to see that happen time in and time out to every single driver, as now the caution looks to be out, as we're going to see if there was a wreck or whether or not they're going to call the stage early. No, it looks to be the number 18 of Gary Jazorski going around in turn number 1 as of right now.
So Gary Jazorski, the number 18 car in that Toyota, is spun it. We'll get a replay up for you of what happened to bring out this yellow. You see Jazorski running into the corner. Oh, that's contact with Nick Noggle right there, and up into the wall hard on the outside of turn number 1 here, coming to the ending stages of the stage. Just a little aggressive with those two cars side by side, and obviously Jazorski got the worst of it up into the outside wall there. And maybe catch another angle of this replay. Yeah, you see the amount of damage the 18 car now has to deal with. on the speedway. But obviously, one of the cars that's been really going strong is Jack Bauer is in second place, and now with this caution has some time to relax a little bit and hold on to that second spot. You're watching them down the front stretch again. So Nick Noggle in behind Jaworski looks to his inside, and they just run out of racing room between the two of them. And Jaworski slides up into the wall. Noggle kind of got it under control, kept that car safe going through turns 1 and 2, and should have some damage, but not be too bad for him. But obviously, Jaworski's got some uphill battles for the rest of his day, and he's going to have to get that car repaired.
This is something I've seen many a time at a place like Kansas Speedway, where the assumption is that you're going to go up to the outside wall just about as far as you can and get an arc into the corner. And that's what Noggle was expecting. He ends up moving up a little bit too far compared to what Jaworski was running. He kept the car off of the wall a little bit, and they just, like Joe said, met in the middle. And unfortunately going to tear up a couple of really good-looking Toyotas today. And it's one of those things where you're trying to assume what the driver to the outside is going to do, and unfortunately sometimes you assume wrong, and you end up making contact, and that's the result. You see Tyler Reed there. He is 1 lap down after that great start to his race. Actually, no, I think it might be 2 laps down. The 14 car... I'm trying to find him here on our timing and scoring. Yeah, well, he is 5 laps down. I don't know what's happened to Tyler Reed, but after starting that race so strongly, he is now 5 laps down. In fact, Joshua Abbey falling victim to a very similar fate. He's 1 lap down after starting the race as strong as he did, so big problems for those guys who qualified up front, had really good opening stints, and have since really fallen off the pace. You see Ronnie Shirk there as well, but Alan Dom is going to lead the field. I would imagine, no, not down the pit lane. It looks like the first taker is going to be Scott Fritz. That's really surprising to me. I'd imagine this should serve as our stage break, considering we are coming up to lap 67 now, so I'm not really sure why these guys aren't pitting.
I'm not exactly sure either. Maybe they're going to try and do a green-white checkered here for the stage, and so that
well,
might
they can't. This will be the last lap of the stage.
Yeah, but right now it is the last lap of the stage right now. It's right now. So it's a very interesting scenario, but I think we have seen that before where we have these green, white, checkered stage breaks. So it's really depending on how the rules line up. I was trying to look back on the number 14 Tyler Reid. What I was able to see was when he came down for a pit stop earlier in the race, he was on there for a minute and 3 seconds. That was back on lap 28. And in lap 65 and 66, he's been on, that was Alan Dobbs actually. And he's trying to look back and find that because he was on there for about a minute and 30, which is exactly, yeah. So he was on the pit road on lap 33 for a minute and 30. He's on pit road on lap 58 for a minute and 5. So he just sat on pit road for a bit, which right now is what's causing him to be back that far back. But man, that's just heartbreak for the number 14 having such a good start. But a major heartbreak for Alan Dobbs as well, because now if we do in fact have a restart to get us to the end of the stage, that's really going to throw a jab into number 3, because he's going to have a really good restart with a lot of hungry drivers who are not going to hesitate to try and get the pass done, knowing what they know now about that 3 Chevrolet.
Yeah, I would agree with you, Noah. I think he's going to have to be careful about the guys coming up and jumping on him from behind. But if I want to put my crew chief hat on for a second and think about, like, as a driver, as a crew, what is the reason for not coming into the pits right now? The only thing I can really think of is maybe just from the oddity of the way that the setup is for pit stops in this race compared to stages. If you look back 2 weeks to Richmond, we basically had a stint on tires with fuel was about half of a stage. So halfway through the stage, and then at the end of the stage is at the end of the first stage, and then again halfway through the second stage was when we saw pit stops, obviously before caution started playing a factor in it. But with the way that we kind of have an off sequence of the pit stops and the stage right now, and the halfway points of the stage, that maybe staying out just kind of helps with that. Maybe staying out at this point in the race will let you run longer into it and maybe set up your strategy at the end of the race so that your last pit stop's nice. That's the only real explanation I could think of for these guys.
Well, it's looking like we might be setting this restart up just to go back into cautions. They may have let them run through the yellow. I don't know, because the front of the field is not formed up. Jack Bauer's way off the race leader. I'm not really sure what's going on at the front of the field. I'm not sure if this is serving as a restart or not. And It's looking like we're going to go back yellow flag here in a moment because nobody's accelerating. So I'd imagine this is to preserve the running order. Very, very odd way to go about things here, but there's the yellow flag, and this will serve as our stage break. So we can tell you then, Alan Dobbs, Jack Bauer, Matt Grenier, John Kinder, Brandon Robertson, Justin Winters, Wyatt Brackett, Casey Barlow, Adam Lancaster, and Nathan Maurer are your top 10 at the point of the stage break. I'm confused as to why they didn't let the caution serve as the stage break and let these guys pit and then go back at it. We're now going to spend 10 laps under yellow.
I don't either. It was because I was looking down at what they're trying to do. He's trying to make a single file, but sadly, he went with the way that the iRacing works. If you didn't do it before the caution, you're going to be stuck doing double file because you tried doing a single file for that exact reason to try and preserve it. I think they were just trying to say it was past the halfway stage. I'm not sure. Maybe trying to get a little bit of an argument of people not wanting to pit under that caution because of the fact that it was a stage in. It's just a lot of varying factors on depending on how the rules apply here for situations like that. But regardless, now we are under caution again for the official stage, and there you go. You're going to see every single driver make their way down Parrot, Alan Dobbs, Jack Bauer, Meckernir. I think the only drivers that are going to stay out are the people who did come in under that caution who were a lap down, and now they're going to take the wave around. And now what was only 12 cars only lap looks to be about upwards of 21 cars now immediately lap. So a really big break for a lot of these drivers who were caught up due to that. But just a very, very confusing situation here to end the halfway stage.
Yeah, but it does help all those cars that are a lap down get back onto the lead lap. And that will make some more exciting racing for all of us as you see Grenier coming out. And look at that. Matt Grenier going to be the first car off pit lane by a long shot. I wonder if he's short fueled.
That was fuel only.
Less tires.
I'm pretty
that was
certain.
Fuel only.
Well, we can take a look back at it, but I think that's fuel only.
So Grenier opted to not switch out the tires and just take fuel at this stage. He didn't really run that long on those tires coming into it anyway. So I think that's not too bad of a decision. I mean, it will hurt him as the run progresses, but for the moment, Grenier does have the race lead back, and that's worth something, I think, to get some laps led and get some more bonus points for the championship. I think Grenier, that's not a bad idea, and we got plenty of time. There are plenty of pit stops in the future, I think, for this race, and it's not a bad choice, and obviously the rest of the field didn't do it with him, so he should fall back again, but not too bad.
Nicholas Noggle is going to assume the race lead, and this is what's very interesting about the way they've done things here with a couple of cautions back-to-back is Noggle pitted under the previous yellow, which I think was serving as kind of freeze the field, and now he's at the front of the field, and I guess is going to restart as our race leader. So, I mean, power move here from Nicholas Noggle. He's going to assume our race lead, but Noah Carmichael, I'm going to pass you Alan Dobbs here in just a moment. We're going to talk to our Stage 1 winner.
Well, Alan, you start on pole and you have just absolutely ran away with it here in the early goings. How is it being the stage winner, and on top of that, just really putting your foot down here in the early goings of this race?
Yeah, man, we're just trying to stay out front. We're gonna have to battle a little bit here, but that's the name of the game, track position. If you're in front of somebody, it's hard to get by them.
And what we saw on that the initial restart of the race, you just ran away with it from the get-go, but now on this restart, you're going to be back in the third spot. What is the game plan going to be to try and take back that race lead, to try and do the same thing that you did on the first start?
Well, we're going to be starting right behind our teammates, so we're going to try to work with them and hopefully get a good restart and put us 1-2.
All right, and with that, what is going to be the game plan here for the second half of the race to try and get your first win here in the series to lock your way into the playoffs?
Don't wreck.
All right, sounds like a good strategy to me. Well, we're going to want to go, so we'll let you go back up there into your channel to get ready, and we'll hopefully get to talk to you a bit more here later in the race.
All right, thank you.
All right, it's going to be your Stage 1 winner, Mr. Alan Dobbs. Now the pace car lights are off. Nicholas Noggle again going to take the race lead with Matt Grenier in second. Now Alan Dobbs, like we just said, he's going to be in third with Jack Bauer in fourth and John Kinder rounding out your top five.
That was short and sweet and to the point from Alan Dobbs. don't wreck. And I liked that. I think that's important. That's valuable to us, is to know what's important to the drivers right now, what they're thinking about coming back to this restart after this stage break is don't wreck. Don't get caught up in something when we still have so much time left in this race. Don't get caught up in something stupid. Don't get caught up in a wreck that gets caused, or don't cause a wreck. Just be conservative and be smart right now. That's definitely what's going to get you to the finish. And with so much time left in this race, so many laps to go, it does give you some good insight on what these guys are thinking about coming back to this green flag. Nick Noggle, Mac Rainier on the front row, leading us back to the start of stage number 2 here at Kansas, and the green flag's going to come back out. Noggle with a good restart, Alan Dobbs with a great restart, coming down the inside of Mac Rainier, going down to turn number 1.
Alan Dobbs down to the bottom side, get past the damage 0-8 and makes easy work of the Mobile 1 Bricon Toyota Camry. Matt Grenier going to try and follow suit. He does the exact same thing, just a little bit delayed. The snap-on Ford going to try and work by on the bottom. There he goes. He gets on by the 08 of Nicholas Noggle. Everybody fighting for the bottom side, very oddly compared to the rest of the racing we've seen so far this afternoon. But on new tires, that bottom pays dividends, and that's exactly what these drivers are all fighting for right now. They want the shortest way around the racetrack on these fresh Goodyear Eagles. It's only going to be after a few laps they go to the top as John Kinder works the bottom side. He's going to clear Matt Grenier to turn 2, a crossover from the 15.
Yeah, it's kind of the strategy you want to play here in the early starts. While these tires are still new and fresh, you can absolutely drill it down to the bottom side of the racetrack and then run your way up to the top side. And that's going to be what all these drivers are going to try to capitalize on here in the first initial parts of these laps for these tires. Absolutely utilize the bottom as much as you can and then work your way up to the top, so that way you can be in a position where you're happy with it, but you don't have to keep struggling with these tires later in the race. As now Jack Bauer going to make the move onto the bottom side. He's going to take over the third spot right now, as he's not yet clear of the number 15, but if he has the same strategy going into turn number 3, he will clear him and maybe get that slide job up before, as now Justin Winter's going to try and pull a slide job on Brandon Robertson behind him, as they are tooth and nail back there for this top 5 fight.
John Winters giving a lot of pressure to the number 2 machine right now, as Brandon Robertson barely gets in behind Mac Rainier going into turn number 1. So those 2 New Englanders racing really hard right now to stay in front of Justin Winters. Robinson with a good run out of turn number 2, but he stays in line, as we got a car going way down to the inside on the runoff down the backstretch. Not quite sure who that was or why they went the whole way down on the tail end of your screen right there. We'll have to check in and see what happened with that one.
That was Nathan Maurer, I believe, or was that? No, that was definitely Nathan Maurer. His teammate Doug Neal was also on the apron. I want to see what happens here to the 97 of Nathan Maurer down the backstretch. Something happens in turn 2, and oh, he actually gets turned down there by his teammate. He was coming up on Nicholas Noggle. He was slow ahead of him. We'll go on board of Maurer for what happens here. And you see, the 08 is a little bit slower up ahead, hanging on to that top side, as he's allowed to do. And Maurer tries to go to the bottom, ends up hitting him, and then gets hit from behind in a chain reaction. And wow, what a job of saving that race car. We've seen real and E-Rex down there, if you will, where you just get turned down onto the apron. It's so hard with all the dust and marbles down there to try and hang on to that race car. Maurer does a great job of it. Alan Dobbs still the race leader. How about Jack Bauer? Back up into second place. Something is clicking for this guy this afternoon.
Yeah, something about this track is just sitting well for him, because he is absolutely putting on the fight of his life and running up there in that runner-up spot, and is actually starting to run down to 3 of Alan Dobbs. So what we were talking about on the initial start for Alan Dobbs, he able to get to that 10-second lead. Well, he's not been able to do it just now, because Jack Bauer is running him down little by little by little, and he can easily become a driver that can fight for this race lead. But going back to what he said about Nathan Maurer, yeah, it was just Noggle just checked up there on exit 2. Wasn't expecting to send him around there. And we almost saw a replay of what happened to Chris Buescher when we were here at Kansas in the real life months ago, when he went on this lid. Just a very easy spot to have a really bad wreck. But luckily, with an amazing amount of talent, he's able to save that. Now you look back here live, Brandon Robertson and Adam Lancaster fighting there for the 5th position, as Lancaster are going to try to look down on the bottom, not able to do it as they make their way down the straightaway. But again, just keep your eye there on that 48 car, because he is running on that 3 car. Could easily be a factor to try and get our first lead change of the race under green.
Yeah, and we're happy to see it too, that Alan Dobbs isn't quite as far ahead of the rest of the field, and Jack Bauer might be able to put a race to it and put some competition for that top spot on right now. You see Adam Lancaster utilizing the bottom side of the racetrack to get past Brandon Robertson. Casey Barlow with plenty of speed in the number 51 behind the number 2 car. This group of 4 is fighting really hard right now. Into the turn again, Brandon Robertson all over Adam Lancaster. You're on board with Wyatt Brackett looking up at the 3 cars in front of him. You've got Casey Barlow right in front of this green and yellow car, looking to the inside. It looked like Brandon Robertson was moving to the inside as well, and Barlow had plenty of momentum, but just didn't have enough space to utilize it. Had to get up to the top side and avoid making contact with Brandon Robertson down the front stretch. But Wyatt Brackett still holding on to these 3 cars. I don't know if we're going to see him be aggressive and try to make a pass, or if he's just going to run behind them right now in this freight train.
Something we haven't talked about yet this afternoon is the weather here at Kansas Speedway. You can see very fair temperatures, 73 degrees. The track temp, though, 94. A little bit warm for a race that's happening in January, but I don't think the in-sim date is quite with us here. Not quite January. I'm a little ahead of myself, about 48 hours ahead. But 94 degrees track temp is Robertson all over the outside wall. Going to lose multiple positions down the back straightaway. Big troubles for the number 2. He's going to fall back into what is that now 8th spot. Big problems there for our Atlanta race winner. And no, it wasn't Atlanta. Las Vegas. I'm trying to think about the second race we had. And, they're coming up on Gary Jaworski. How about these blimps? I don't know how I got these to work so perfectly with the outer bounds of the racetrack, but that's a really cool view to follow them as they're going through the corners there. Turns 1 and 2. Wyatt Brackett now in 6th position after passing Brandon Robertson. Casey Barlow now falls victim to him as well, and really just mixed up that entire batch they had. And Matt Grenier has somehow fallen to 9th place as well. I think that's what happens when you don't take tires.
No, even though he's falling back to 9th, he's going to have an extra set of tires here lit in the race to rely on. If this race goes past the advertised distance of 134 laps, we got a slide job taking place up here at the front. It's going to cause an incident between Jack Bauer and John Kinder. As they go spinning, they're going to save it off the exit of the corner. Really close contact. They could have ended poorly. Almost a replay of what we saw happen between Doug Neal and Nicholas Noggle. But, man, that was a very close incident, and that's going to be perfect for Alan Dobbs. He's just going to stretch away that race lead. But, man, that could have been a really, really bad incident for the front 2 runners.
Yeah, it looked like Kinder was trying to make that pass on Jack Bauer in the corner. He went down on the inside. You're on board with Jack Bauer, so we'll see. Through turn 1 we go. Bauer stays to the high side. That's kind of the preferred line on this racetrack. You see Kinder coming up now. Slide job, except he runs out of racing space. So he just was carrying too much momentum and going straight for the wall. He thought better of it before an incident actually occurred. Obviously, he checked up right in front of, oh boy, Jack Bauer almost just got into another piece of contact with Casey Barlow right there. But yeah, just checked up in front of him a little bit. Nothing really that Jack Bauer could do, but a good save by him, and he does keep charging forward.
Yeah, it's so hard when you get in those slide job situations trying to cross somebody over, but realistically, John Kinder did absolutely nothing wrong right there. He had the pass made. He was well and clear of Jack Bauer, and at that point, you either got to lift or turn down to the inside of the 21, one of the two, and it seemed like he tried to do both, and it just didn't quite work. Yeah, unfortunately, that's just what happens when you try and cross somebody up and you don't quite make it to the inside. It's almost like he was half lifting for what he needed to and half turning down for what he needed to, and he just kind of met the back end of the 21 car. John Kinder a little bit injured by it as well, along with Jack Bauer. You can see the damage to the 21 car. I think that more so damaged the right front than the left rear even, because I think it put him up into the outside wall, and that's really hurting this Rims 1 Ford Mustang now. So the two of these, actually, they might meet once more, the 21 and the 48. We'll see what Jack Bauer thinks about things once they do.
Yeah, Jack Bauer, you saw with the pass on Casey Barlow, driving a little bit, I would say a little bit angry, and rightfully so, having an issue like that. Luckily, he did not get involved in the wreck, only falls back to 5th, so just a quick caution, he'll be back into this thing, no problem. But just a really, really tough break for the 48 Ally machine, as he's now having a mirror of that yellow Goodwrench plush Chevrolet as they make their way to turns 3 and 4. But give it a few laps, and maybe we'll see a pass again between the 21 and the 48. We're ready to see whether or not this goes any further than it had to off of turn number 2 as they make their way to complete lap number 91 as we're approaching the 100-lap mark of this race.
Yeah, Jack Bauer is one of the aggressive drivers in this series. He puts a lot of emotion in behind that wheel, and I think that could very easily play into this. We know, obviously, Jack Bauer, an aggressive driver, and he's got a little bit of a chip on his shoulder right now, especially to get back around that 21 car he's looking at the tail of. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Jack Bauer pushing it right now, trying to get that position back and try to get further up in the running order. Because like we've been talking about all throughout this race, this is Jack Bauer's best race of the year so far. And this is the race that he needs to put himself back in contention to get into the playoffs. And if he's thinking about that right now, he's going to be pushing really hard to try to just get any points he can, as Kinder slides in front of him right there. So that should help him get around the outside of the 21. Kinder relinquishes the high line. He knows better because he lost that time with that slide out of turn number 2 right there. But I'd be watching Bauer to be aggressive right now.
Absolutely. He does clear the 21, so he might be able to put that behind him, but here comes Brandon Robertson looking to take advantage of the now damaged 48 car. Granted, Robertson was in the wall himself not so long ago, so I'm not so sure that he's really got even that much more speed over the 48 here of Jack Bauer. These 4 cars all over one another. Up front, you're not missing a single thing. Alan Dobbs has checked out to a 2-second lead over Justin Winters. Kinder now gets passed up by Barlow on entry of turn 3. Wyatt Brackett solidly in the 3rd spot, actually. 4.5 seconds back of the race leader. And how about this? Wyatt Brackett, he's had some solid runs over the course of his time here in the Bluegrass iRacing series, but none quite like this. I don't think a 3rd place has come his way just yet. And he's looking to have a really great afternoon now that, well, quite simply, a few of the guys ahead of him are out of his way.
Yeah, absolutely. A moment like this is exactly what a driver like Wyatt Brackett needs to be able to capitalize and put himself up there in a 3rd spot, which is right now probably the highest he's ran outside of pit cycles in the prior races to this, because right now he's just solidly holding his own up there in the top 5, and that's what been the name of the season all year long as of right now. Unlike last year, where it was kind of the same 3 guys, this year it's a who's guess of who's able to run up here at the front. We've seen drivers like Chris LeBourgeois, drivers like Scott Fritz, Jack Bauer, Wyatt Brackett now. Just everybody who we've usually seen running outside the top 10 or be able to fight up there for a top 10 spot, now fighting up here for a top 5, top 3, even a lead. So just a lot of these guys have been able to pick up the pace here this season. And now, just like I said earlier in the goings of this race, it's just the talent level between these drivers has dwindled so much. It's just anybody's guess who can win here, as now we're seeing another round of pit stops begin as Casey Barlow and John Kinder are first takers down pit road.
Yeah, so you're watching the 51 and the 21 come into their pit stalls. That's number 9 of Bryce Hunter as well coming in. And I think this is maybe a little earlier than I would have started expecting cars to come in and get new Goodyears, get more fuel to run to the end of this race. But at the same time, a lot of these guys could be banking on a caution too before we get to the checkered flag. So you see Barlow and Kinder slide out of their pit boxes now. Barlow was able to beat Kinder out. He led him in as well. Alan Dobbs, your race leader now. You see him going into his pit stall, so put that number 3 on pit lane. He's going to relinquish the lead to Justin Winters.
Alan Dobbs in the pit lane. He gets some new Goodyear Eagles. It is a bit early, isn't it, to see these guys come down the pit lane, I'd say. But definitely making it very, very clear that they want to go for the 2-stop strategy here in this 2nd stage. Justin Winters, you know, he could maybe stretch this thing out, but I think with the situation we had there, I don't know, it's really odd to be pitting so early. I'm not sure he has to do much stretching at all. Of course, he got that second yellow period where he was able to come in, get fuel and tires, and it might be that much easier now to do it on one stop. So I'd be keeping an eye on this 52 car. He's got, we'll say 2 or 3 more laps in the tank, and that's really all he needs to even things out. It's where he'd be able to go to the end. I think he's got to get to about lap 102 or so. So he's got to run 3 more laps to be 32 to the end. Yeah, I mean, it's about really just 102, 103. If he can get to that mark, if any of these drivers can get to that mark, they can make this a one-stop race.
Yeah, it's just a very interesting scenario with that halfway caution. It really puts a wrench in kind of the plans that you would normally have on a given weekend. And you see Brandon Robertson make his way down pit road. My best guess is a lot of these drivers are doing these short pittings to try and maybe have it play out just right on the pit cycles and not have to worry about some situation happening. But right now, Justin Winters, like we always say, he is master of strategies when it comes to running in this series, and I would not be surprised if he has something in his mind, but already of the playbook on what he needs to do to get the strategy perfect for a green flag scenario. But yeah, your guess is as good as mine on why these drivers are pitting so early in the stage compared to what they usually do, because the last time they pitted would have been around lap 67, 68, so as of right now, this would have been possibly the point of the race where they would have had to pit regardless, but it still just feels a lot earlier than it really is just to have a pit stop happen.
Yeah, so as you say that, Jack Bauer comes into the pit lane. He relinquishes where he was on track, was second place coming into it. So he had made that time up with everybody else coming into the pit lane to where he was when he had that incident with John Kinder. But you talk about Justin Winters, I'm thinking about John Kinder as well. I think the 21 car and his teammate, who hasn't really been making a lot of noise today, Adam Lancaster, those are two guys who've just made a name for themselves in the strategy game. They have been the guys who have run very long stints and have been able to play with strategy in the past. And I think that as Justin Winters now is going to come down pit lane, you're seeing the Allen's Body Shop car coming very quickly. That's definitely going to be a speeding on pit lane violation. I think that car was way over the pit lane limit when he came past that cone there. Tough break for Justin Winters.
That was absolutely well over pit speed limit. Oh man, that's heartbreaking. I think that's almost definitely a penalty here for the one driver that was going to split this one in two and cut a pit stop out, and I think might have been the winning strategy. We'll keep on this story here with Justin Winters, but I think that was definitely way too fast. Entering, one of you guys can get me the actual speed at the line. That's got to be way, way too fast. And yeah, he's getting held in the box here for quite a while. That is heartbreaking.
Yeah, I was exactly watching that, and just like I said, pit road here is with the banking, exiting, and then getting down there. It is so hard, and he had a very, very interesting style, having those right sides on the banking, and I clocked him at well 50 over the speed limit, about the entry cone of the commitment cone. He was at 86 miles an hour going in there, so he was about double the speed, almost double the speed limit.
Yeah, it's 45 here, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a 45 mile an hour, so here's a couple laps short of being double the speed limit. But man, that is a absolute heart-wrenching moment for the number 52. Luckily for him, thankfully for him, he has the win. So regardless of that, even though that's going to bite him hard and it's going to feel painful, what he can sit back and know is that now it's not going to hurt his championship hopes because he's still in it regardless. But man, that is not what you want to see, especially trying to go back-to-back race winners, and you could have easily done it here, as now Alan Dobbs is sitting pretty to possibly take this win if this race goes as green as it has been all night long.
I want to quickly ask you guys, is this the first time Matt Grenier's come in this stage?
I believe that is accurate. I do believe that Matt Grenier
he's definitely got the fuel to go. This is his final pit stop. Everybody else has to pit again. He's well and good to go. He's got 29 laps to go in this stage. He's going to be way behind right now, but he's going to be able to run these tires out. Everybody else has to pit. This is interesting. He gave up a lot of time on those old tires, but he's at least going to run the strategy out. I'm not so sure he's going to win off of it, but I think it's going to pay off in the end compared to taking two stops.
Well, Grenier's in a pretty good spot in the playoff picture right now. He's running in fifth in the championship coming into this event. And obviously, like you said, it's his first stop in this stage. And I think that Grenier could be trying to play different and play a different strategy. And he does have a little bit of a safe spot in the championship right now. Obviously, yet to win a race this season. So the goal would have been to try to just do something completely different and hope that it works in your favor and get that race win. Like Noah said with Justin Winters, he's already got a win, so he's got that lifeline to get him into the playoffs and compete for the championship further on. So it's not really long-term as big of a deal for Justin Winters to not be up front in this race. But what that also did was that jumped Wyatt Brackett up into second place on track, and that was something that we were just talking about. Noah was just talking about how great that is to see Wyatt Brackett competing up there. He's actually the race leader at this point, so the number 3 car. No, so that is a scoring error, so he is not the race leader at this current moment in time. But Wyatt Brackett just having a great day, and the misfortunes for the 52 car did play out as some of the fortunes for the 33 right now.
We've just seen Nathan Maurer take a position on the racetrack ahead of John Kinder, the 21, falling back rather quickly right now. Joshua Abbey goes on by as well. And there you see Alan Dobbs pops back up onto the top of your scoring pylon on the left side of your screen. That's just a testament to the lead he has. It's about it's got to be over 5 seconds here. There we go, 9 seconds, almost back up to his 10-second lead that he had earlier on in this race. And we're down, guys, to 24 laps to go, or 25 laps to go, actually, that time by the stripe. And it feels like this race has just gone by in a breeze. In fact, only really the one caution, but it ended up being for 7 laps total. But 14 lead changes in that time. I'm blown away by that statistic, and I want to mention, here comes Matt Grenier. He's a lap down, but he's about to unlap himself. This is the 15 car here in turns 3 and 4. If you can see that next car up ahead on the racetrack at the start-finish line now, that's race leader Alan Dobbs.
Yes, so right now, even though on track of the fight for the race lead, it will be here later on in the race, depending when Alan Dobbs opts to pit. Because right now, Matt Grenier has the strategy to pull it off and get his ticket to the playoffs with the run that he's had and the strategy that he played out, absolutely catching all of us off guard. And talked about that 8-second lead and just having so much of a lead, being so far ahead of leaders. Just like I said, it's so hard for the time of scoring to keep up with how many fires are going to racetrack. It'd be hard to keep up with that number 3 car because he is in another state, which is another zip code, postal code entirely. He is gone, checked out. It has not even been a fight for him. He hasn't had to worry about a single car behind him fighting for position. The only time he's had to worry is when he laps the rest of the field. So he's just checked out. And if it all goes to plan, the only person that could take him off that pedestal and take away another chance at a win for that 3 machine would be the number 15 of Matt Grenier. But it's going to have to see how it plays out, whether we have a caution that could ruin everything for Grenier. But if it plays out to the green, it's going to be a very, very interesting way to see who gets the win, because regardless of whether these 2 win, it's going to be a first-time win of the season.
What I'd like to know is when Alan Dobbs snuck into this racing facility and installed rails on the track for him to just ride on and blister away from the field like this, because this car is just unbelievably fast. I mean, Alan Dobbs is just putting on a class show and showing he's consistent as a driver, and he's got a good car underneath him. It's just been the talk of the show, and throughout the whole race, we've been talking about how much time he has in front of his competitors. As you're seeing Casey Barlow coming into pit lane, he got a little squirrely coming in, but he gets the car under control. So Casey Barlow was running in the top 3 for a good while. So was Wyatt Brackett. That car coming off pit lane, so he took a pit stop there. The number 33 is going to come back out on track. He loses time as now it looks like Brandon Robertson is going to be taking over second place in the number 2 car. Maurer right now, Nathan Maurer right behind him. You see the Simbox Chevy running in 3rd place. So a little bit of a switch up and a shake up right now. There's Jack Bauer back into the top 5 again. Joshua Abbey having a good day now, back into the top 5 as well. A little bit of a shake up here with 20 laps to go. Some cars coming into the pit lane as there was Nathan Maurer going in.
Maurer pits, and now the battle for 3rd place is on. Robertson up ahead of these guys could fall victim to one of the 2 if they start to drive away. And the way Joshua Abbey has caught and is trying to pass Jack Bauer on a lap older tires, this 5 car's got something working for him right now, and he's, again, trying to get by that 48, the Ally Do It Right number 48 of Jack Bauer. And he's been doing a lot of things right today. A couple of pit entries, I think, maybe kind of caught him off guard, lost a little bit of time. He had that moment with John Kinder at a turn 2, but all things considered, he has done everything right today. I think just in the general scheme of things, he's put himself up in the top 5, top 3 multiple times so far today, and he's really doing what he has to do to give himself a chance at a race win that he's not had a chance at before, I don't think. I mean, this is far and away the best race Jack Bauer's ever put together here in the Bluegrass iRacing series. Aside from, I think, the opening race at Daytona where he ended up getting taken out around halfway, this is great stuff from Jack Bauer right now. Really excited to see this kind of a run from him. You see Casey Barlow working on by. You'll see Wyatt Brackett there as well. They're on new tires, but it's 48 cars the real deal today. Very, very exciting to see him doing such amazing things this afternoon. Now, up ahead, you see Alan Dobbs is no longer atop the scoring pylon. This time it is from a pit stop. He has made his final stop of the day. 18 laps to go for him. And we'll see if Robertson will do so shortly as well. No, just run on the bottom side of the racetrack. He will stay out. But here comes Jack Bauer. This could be a pass for the race lead before everything cycles out.
Yeah, you talk about just being the race of the year and his career thus far for Jack Bauer, and I would agree with you there. He has been absolutely phenomenal. This is what we expected to see with how well he ran at Daytona at the inaugural race of the series back last season, and we haven't seen that much out of him since then. But man, as now he does it, going to turn number 3, he does take the lead. So Jack Bauer will lead a lap, come to the stripe this time. But regardless of whatever happens, who wins this race, right now, I would say the man of the night would be Jack Bauer, because he has just had an absolutely phenomenal race, start to finish. Same for Joshua Abbey, a guy who we seen struggle week after week, running up as high as now 3rd. It's just incredible to see these drivers being able to come up here and fight with the big names of the series and now be able to throw their hat in there for a potential playoff spot. It's just incredible to see. And regardless of what happens, just my hat off to Jack Bauer for how well he's performed here, and just hope he's able to ride on this wave of momentum and able to make himself a threat for a win here before the regular season is over.
Yeah, and like you said, not only just to be competing with wins, but also to try to get himself into that championship. He was sitting in 24th in the championship standings coming into this race, and while the championship fight is pretty tight in that area of the grid, while everybody's pretty close together in points, 24th is pretty far out. So there's time left before the playoffs get cut off, but Jack Bauer needs to start putting together performances. I think I've already said that. And with the finish he had in stage 1, getting the 9 points for finishing 2nd, that was a great start as well. But yeah, Jack Bauer, if he can stick with it in these last 14 laps, not sure if we're going to see him come into the pits or not. We're still watching Matt Grenier, who, as we had mentioned when he came into the pits, is running a completely separate and unique strategy right now and is just ticking off the laps. And he's actually running in 4th place right now. He's behind Noggle, Robertson, and Bauer in 4th spot. And we're going to watch that 15 car, see if he can hold on to the spot he's in, make passes like he's doing on Nick Noggle right now, and that is for position. So Grenier will move himself into the top 3, and he should be good to the finish. So that car is definitely one to watch with these last 13 laps.
Well, Joe, he is good to the finish, and it's very interesting trying to watch the gap back to Alan Dobbs as he works by Noggle and Brian Terry there on the outside lane. Matt Grenier has worked himself into 3rd place on the racetrack now. A few cars ahead of him have pitted, and he's still got the 2 ahead of him that need to pit. Alan Dobbs comes off of turn 2 now, so it's the back straightaway between them right now. This is the race for the win between these two. I don't think anybody else without a caution flag is really in the running. It comes down to these two here and now. Alan Dobbs has a back straightaway to make up, and he's got the better tires. So we will obviously keep tabs on these two. And running the fastest lap, going purple a couple of laps ago, I think proves that Alan Dobbs has the speed certainly to do it. We'll see if he's able to chip away enough time over the course of these next 12 laps as he gets very side by side there with Joshua Abbey. Joshua Abbey might end up being the MVP of Matt Grenier's race if this works out.
Absolutely so. That is what he needs. We talk about on the last restart, we talked to Alan Dobbs. We pointed out that I believe now Nicholas Noggle is his teammate, and my best guess is when Matt Grenier was passing Noggle, he might have tried to hold him up a little bit to try and give Alan Dobbs a little bit of time to try and catch up. Well, now it looks like Joshua Abbey's going to take all that away because he doesn't care if he's fighting for the race to win, whether or not. He is going to fight to the nail to try and keep top 5 spot, regardless if he needs to pit. He is not going to give up and let that 3 car pass. He's going to try to hold on to every position he can because right now he is enjoying every moment of this running up here in the top 5. He's going to do everything in his power to try and keep that number 3 car behind him. But like you said, it's the MVP of Matt Grenier's race because right now the gap is sitting at about close to 11 seconds from each other. So these guys are just all over each other, but it's going to make a very interesting finish. Now the gap is about 2 seconds actually. So right now, yeah, you're right. It looks like it's going to be Joshua Abbey going to be the big breaking point on whether or not who wins this race.
Well, one thing about Joshua Abbey was he came out of the pits right there and was with Alan Dobbs, but Joshua just knows just as well as any of us that he's coming out of the pits, he's going to have the freshest tires, and he's going to be faster than Alan Dobbs. You can see that on your screen right now. Off the tail of the race leader, Matt Grenier, just no challenge. Joshua Abbey down the inside, easy going, and that car is so much faster. And he needs the positions that he's after.
Oh, no!
Grenier just hit the wall in the middle of 3 and 4. That's definitely going to put a hindrance on it. I think that should allow Dobbs to reel him in significantly quicker here. As you see down the front stretch, yeah, you can just visually see how much quicker the 3-car is down the front straightaway, and he's just catching up to the 15. Tough break.
And they're passing Brandon Robertson, who might be saving fuel to go to the end here without stopping again. This is the pass for the race lead, Joe. Oh, that's put it in the bank of heartbreaking moments today. Side by side, I don't think Grenier can hold him off. No, it was never going to happen, especially hitting the wall a lap ago.
Yeah, so that's just a tough break for Matt Grenier. But, I mean, he slid up on his own in turn 3 and 4 and unfortunately hit that wall and lets Dobbs get back around him.
Yeah, just a very rough scenario there. Now it's going to hand the lead back to Alan Dobbs as Jack Bauer has now come down pit road. So that was the pass for the lead and the win, as now Dobbs is just sailing away, coming closer and closer to 5 to go to get ready to set up for his first win. Just hopefully, depending if he can keep this wheel straight and hold on to it for these few remaining laps, he could take the win and punch his way into the playoffs after having so many good races week after week after week, but having something taken away from him late in the race, whether that be a late race caution or just someone beating him on strategy. Right now, everything is working out for that 3 machine. He looks about set to get his first win here in the Bluegrass iRacing Series as he makes his way into turn number 3 once more.
Yeah, that was just a tough break for Grenier, and obviously Dobbs got around him, and he's been running very smooth and solid. You see him on the inside of Jack Bauer right here out of turn number 4. So you can tell that car's hooked up because he's still running on the bottom side of the racetrack, which is where the cars run when they have the fresher tires. But over the course of the run, you see everybody start to fade up into the top groove. So right now, Alan Dobbs just continuing to put time in between him and the rest of the guys behind him.
Yeah, Jack Bauer came out of the pit lane right in front of Alan Dobbs. Unfortunately, Jack Bauer 1 lap down, but he's made it into the top 10 regardless of him pitting a bit later, and he might even get a couple of spots yet with those fresh tires. He's in 9th, granted 1 lap down, and John Kinder's up ahead, so he might even get back ahead of that 21 car, and boy, what that battle could be here in a moment if Jack Bauer, honestly, if it comes down to those two for another position for Jack Bauer, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a hairy move out of the 48 car here momentarily. But yeah, I was thinking about it a moment ago. We've talked about Alan Dobbs so much over the course of this race, this race and this season, Noah, but he hasn't made it to victory lane yet. Somehow over the course of 4, almost 5 races, we still haven't talked about him in victory lane until possibly tonight. He's only 4.5 miles away from doing it, and I don't think there's any beating that 3 car.
Absolutely not. The gap's already at 3 seconds, almost 4 seconds at this point as he gets ready for 2 to go. He's been so close. He has shown that he is the top guy in this series to go out here for the championship, but has just been denied at every single turn to get that win. Now coming to 2 to go, he is finally in the position where he can break that bad luck that he's had here in the early goings of this season and can easily make his way into the playoffs and not have to worry for the rest of the season, besides just trying to strengthen his points gap. With the amount of stage wins that he has safely put himself in the spot where he wouldn't even have to rely on a win at this point with how he runs. But now getting ready to come to 1 to go, it is all eyes on that 3 car and whether he can get to the victory lane.
Yeah, you talk about the up and downs of this season, and Alan Dobbs came out of the gate swinging as we get the white flag, 1 lap to go here at Kansas. He just came out of the gate swinging as a rookie at Daytona, has been consistent the whole way up through it, and I think this is a well-deserved win, not only for the day he's had and how strong his car is, but just for the entirety of the season so far and how competitive he's been up to this point.
We'll quickly show that battle behind where Jack Bauer is trying to catch up to guys like Justin Winters and John Kinder, but the problem's actually Jack Bauer is pretty slow down the backstretch. Regardless, out of turn number 4 for the final time, the 134th time this afternoon, it's Alan Dobbs leading the way and winning the Erich's Carpet Care 200 at Kansas Speedway. Finally, after 5 races. Like I said, we've talked so much about this 3 car and how good he's been through the course of these opening races. Finally gets that first win on the season. I wouldn't be surprised if many more are to come. He's been the talk of the town all season long, despite being one of the newcomers trying to party with the big dogs like John Kinder, Justin Winters, Brandon Robertson. and so many more. He finally gets that first win on the season. That's big stuff. He got the first stage win in the Bluegrass iRacing series ever. The first stage he won, and that was at Daytona in week 1. Of course, it didn't go his way. Seldom does at Daytona, but he's been so good all season long, and it's a long time coming as he gets hit here after the line.
There's an interesting scenario going right here. If you look back there at number 13 of Brian Terry, he actually ran out of fuel in turns 3 and 4 and is trying to clutch it to the start-finish line. So you're going to see the 13 car roll across your screen here in a minute as he's going to make it across the line and take that 20th position. But man, just what a night for Alan Dobbs. He's going to destroy that Chevrolet motor and just enjoy every moment of this win, as now he is officially in the postseason here with the Bluegrass iRacing series. But man, just what a race top to bottom. We were only on here for actually less than an hour, almost about 2 hours actually. Just an absolutely incredible race. Everywhere you look, there's a fight going on, and only one caution, well, technically only one caution, and that's how we end it here. And it's just an absolutely incredible way to finish this race, and is what we expect to see of these guys week in and week out. It's just the perfect way to end the night. He's going to park it there on the start-finish line.
Yeah, it was a little chaotic at the end of the race with the pit strategy, and then it was a little chaotic after the flag drop there with everything going on the front stretch. Jaworski coming into the celebration and Brian Terry coming across the line and whatnot. But it was a class act race. I mean, everybody raced very smooth and solid. We only had a few small incidents that throughout the race that caused one yellow and then just a couple other small things. But overall, the guys put a really great race together. There was a lot of really great competition out here at Kansas, and Bluegrass Series not disappointing tonight.
Not at all. Certainly a thriller through and through. A lot of strategy to be talked about, a lot of battles all race long. And at the end of the day, it was the number 3, Alan Dobbs, up on top. I think it's pretty fair to say he had this field covered in so many ways. Alan Dobbs finally gets that first victory. And with that, we'll step away. We'll take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back to you momentarily with post-race coverage from Kansas Speedway.
Sound Art is a product that is a speaker and it's art. We combine it together and we call it Sound Art. What makes it so unique that any picture can be your speaker? Sound Art gives you the high quality sound without the ugly speaker. This isn't a picture with the picture is the speaker. Just imagine your wedding picture uploaded onto a canvas and now it's speaking 10,000 tunes. I mean, it's a very cool concept. What we like so much about it that you can take anything that means something very special to you, upload it on the canvas, have it hanging up in your room, your balcony, wherever you want to put it, and now it's a speaker. I mean, how cool is that? It's something that we have that and no one has. No one has this product. It's just a great gift to give anybody. It's just a neat concept. Around here we say, art never sounded so good.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Welcome back to the Kansas Speedway here on the iRacing.com simulator. A big congratulations goes out to, of course, Alan Dobbs winning the Erich's Carpet Care 200 at Kansas Speedway. It didn't always look like the number 3 was going to be the one on top, but when it all came down to it, Alan Dobbs was where he needed to be, played the strategy correctly, and wins this afternoon at Kansas Speedway. Played all of his cards right, and finally gets that first win on the season, that breakthrough win that Alan Dobbs has been waiting for. And Alan, we've been talking about you a whole lot to get this season started, but this is the first time we get to talk to you as a race winner. And so much has happened so far this season as well, where, I mean, you can probably create a list to rival that of Santa Claus's list, where there's just been so many moments that you've been up front, you've had great chances to get after a race win, but it just hasn't fallen your way yet. Today, it finally all works out, but it didn't always look like you were going to be the one to get it done. How about that very late race pass to get back by Matt Grenier?
I was wetting bullets. I tell you what, all the different pit strategy and not knowing where people were going to pit or not or save, or, you know, it was crazy. And Kansas is really hard to pass. So, yeah, I mean, luckily he was too slow on those old tires. Hats off to him for being able to save that much, though. I wasn't even going to try.
Yeah, you know, we were talking about the possibility of saving fuel and cutting a pit stop out of the race since the start of the drop of the green flag, but nobody had really done it until that final stage. What was going through your mind, and maybe your teammates, if you have any, about trying to work the lap counts to your favor? And when was it that you finally realized it was going to be more so a two-stop race in both stages?
Well, I mean, the first stage, there was pretty much no way to go one stop without the caution for the stage break. But that second stage, I knew that there was going to be at least one person out there that was going to save. And I was right. And, I mean, they were only 7 seconds back, so it almost got them a win.
And I think, thankfully for you, you end up getting back by him, and I think that might have been because he took fuel only at that stage break. was there really any big tire management? Did you have to save a set of tires anywhere?
I mean, I know that there was a few people that did have a set saved. Some people, saved one in the first stage. Some people, you know, didn't take one at the stage break if they had just pit. But yeah, I was hoping that there wasn't a late race caution because I knew people had tires in the bag, and I just stuck to my pit strategy. I didn't really let what they were doing affect me. I just ran the fuel out, used the tires, hoped it worked out.
Hey, fair enough. Got to run your race before anyone else's. We talked about at the top of the show during qualifying, actually, the difference in some steering box adjustments. Obviously, you guys, I think, at this point are all pretty used to brake bias adjustments, but how do you make the steering box adjustments work for you, if at all?
Well, I normally stick to 14-1 unless we're on a short track or something. I think 16's a little too much play. Some people like it for tire saving. 12's a little too twitchy for me, so I've just stuck right there at the 14 and we let it rip.
Hey, fair enough. It all works out, and I think it's working pretty good for you so far this season. Again, only one win now on the season, but we've talked about you so much more through all 5 races. Congratulations to you finally getting it done this afternoon. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out for that number 3 team?
Just thanks to you guys for the broadcast. Y'all put on a great broadcast every week. Shout out to the people that are watching. My wife and kids, they were watching. Love y'all. Shout out to all the guys here at Bluegrass. A great race today. I think we had just the one caution there about the halfway point. Otherwise, there's a lot of clean driving, great racing, heck of a time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time, and congratulations once more winning the Erich's Carpet Care 200 at Kansas Speedway.
Thank you, guys.
And that is Alan Dobbs after winning his first race on the season. I'll pass it on over to Noah Carmichael with second place finisher Matt Grenier.
Absolutely. As we get ready to bring Matt Grenier up here into the booth. Matt, you came so close to being able to capitalize on that win, but you still come up with just a little bit short, but still a strong second place finish. How was it those final few laps trying to fend off that number 3 machine?
Oh man, I was nervous. I'm a little dejected because I thought I had it. Came up a little bit short at the end there. Al was just fast all week. I don't feel like I could really catch him if we were on the same strategy. So I was doing everything I could to try to figure out a way to get in front of him, and he just had better tires at the end, and that made the difference.
Well, certainly that strategy call to try and split it into where you were good to the end caught us all off guard. Where did that come from you to get the idea to pull that off to try and kind of throw everybody for a loop and try to steal one out here tonight?
Well, I screwed up. I didn't take tires at the stage break, and everyone else did. I had a greater strategy played out in my mind, and stage break, the way we kind of worked that out really threw me off. So I ended up not taking tires, which was probably my downfall. But with where we restarted, I kind of tried to shift gears, and I knew I could save some fuel. And, since I didn't take the tires, I figured, you know what, let's save and see what we can do. And maybe I can just squeak one out. I had lap 106 marked as my target for the last pit stop, and I pushed hard to get there and almost made it. Still worked out, but it was cut real close.
Well, now we head off from this 1.5 miles to another 1.5 miles as we head out to Charlotte in a week's time. What would you say is going to be the strategy to try and take the win there next week to try and kind of repeat what you had here tonight?
I think a little bit of the same tonight. I mean, that track's fast. In my personal opinion, it's a little bit narrower, so you're gonna have a narrower track with a lot of fast guys and more chances for contact. So for me, the biggest thing is just be in the front or up in the front somewhere and stay out of trouble and survive till the end, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right, well, before I let you go here tonight, who do you have to thank for your runner-up finish here in the Bluegrass iRacing series?
Yeah, just got to thank my teammates as always. Worked a bit with David Brackett before the race, just working on lines and stuff. So we worked on some stuff together. Got to thank John Kinder too. He helped us out a little bit trying to figure out some of our good lines there. As always, going to thank my buddy Eric and Chris for watching back home, and then of course my parents watching at home and my girlfriend.
All right, well, congratulations on our finish. Just a little bit short. Hopefully, we get to see a lot out of you. Just same next week. Congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
All right, that's going to be your runner-up finish, Matt Grenier, and we're going to bring in now Wyatt Brackett for a Mr. Joe Donahue.
Yes, indeed. And I've got Wyatt Brackett here. Wyatt, this is Joe. Do you got me?
10-4.
All right, Wyatt. Well, you snuck back into third place at the end of this race. It was kind of an up and down, coming up through the field and going back. What was your pit strategy, and just what were you thinking to the end of the race when everybody started switching positions and the strategy became more important?
Well, I'd changed my pit strategy at the last minute, being running up front and seeing how far out Dobbs was. I knew I wasn't going to catch him, so I tried short pitting it as soon as I could, and just to try and make up as much time when he pitted, but it wasn't enough. So I was just trying to hang in there for the top 5 finish, and luckily Brennan ran out of fuel at the end, and that just gave me the top 5 that I needed.
Yeah, but you had also, building on that, you had a great day. I mean, we see you up front a lot. We don't see days where you're running in the top 3 consistently, up and back like you had been, and it was just a good performance from you throughout the course of the day. We had been watching your car, and you had some hardships throughout the race, but generally you were very strong tonight. What was the strategy coming in that let your car be so fast, and what did you do to prepare the car to be running up front tonight?
Oh yeah, I had put a lot of practice in throughout the past couple of days, and I'd picked some brains like Justin Winters and John Kinder, and of course my teammates, just to kind of figure out what I got to do to keep those tires under me a little bit longer, because I was good in those short to medium runs, but as soon as we got the long runs, I couldn't do it anymore. Once I picked their brains a little bit and they explained it to me how just to keep those tires under me, it just clicked, and it ended up working for me really well in that long run.
It certainly did for you too, and so coming into this race, you were 15th in the championship, just 2 points above the cutoff for the playoffs. Obviously, with the third place, you're going to be jumping up in the order significantly. How does that change the strategy for Charlotte next week, if at all, for you? That now you've got some momentum and you're still charging forward in the playoffs and trying to get into the playoffs to continue towards the championship.
My whole plan of action in all these races is just race the race and just try and get those top 5 finishes. You know, I'd love to get a win, but I'm still happy with the top 5, because those top 5s being consistent are going to keep me in the top of the standings for the playoffs, which will get me a spot in the playoffs. Even if I don't get that win, to guarantee me a spot.
Absolutely, Wyatt. So with that, I'll just give you the floor here. Do you have any sponsors, anybody you want to thank, or anything else you want to throw out there for the broadcast tonight?
First off, I want to thank you guys for putting on a great show once again. The league, Bluegrass iRacing, what a wonderful group of guys we have. We're a bunch of great racers. Thank my old man for doing all he does to help me out with all this stuff and doing this every week with me and my teammates. And John Kinder and Justin Winters for giving me all the information to help me get that third place finish tonight.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations, Wyatt. Hope you have a good night and a happy new year to you. Congratulations on the third place, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you again soon here in the series.
Thank you. Happy New Year's, you guys. Have a good night.
Good night to you too, sir. And like he said, I mean, you just got to work with your teammates and just have a good series under you. I think not only the teammates, but just the series in general. Bluegrass, always a good performance and a good show from these guys, especially tonight.
Yeah, we were talking about it in our little break there. Definitely a really, really good race. A good way to turn things around after a very tumultuous start to the season. Get a good race like this in. Action all throughout the evening, Noah. I don't think the action ever really turned down, even when we had that break at halfway. And the field kind of got split up. Certainly, I think some of the battles went away, but then the drama of all the strategy comes into play, and the drama factor never, ever went away to give us this finishing order after 134 laps.
Yeah, even though we had that long caution break there that ended up being like a perfect little halfway breather because it did not let off as soon as it went green, and certainly that's exactly what we wanted to see. Alan Dodds, you say, taking the race win. Matt Grenier rounds it out in a tough second place, but still an incredible finish. Wyatt Brackett with an amazing third place finish, and the casual name you usually see with Casey Barlow in fourth. How about Nathan Maurer, after almost losing the entire race off of turn number 2, rallies back to fifth. Joshua Abbey with an impressive run up to 6th. John Kinder takes home 7th. Justin Winters in the 52 brings it home in 8th. Jack Bauer, the man we talked about all night long, is able to bring it home 9th. And then Brandon Robertson is going to round out your top 10.
Finishing in 11th place tonight as the screen changes, Nicholas Noggle in that 08 Toyota. Behind him in 12th, a really good show for Bryce Hunter, one of his stronger efforts in this series. Scott Fritz, the driver of the number 1 machine, coming home in 13th place, and that's going to help him try to move forward into the championship fight to get into the playoffs. 14th spot at the end of the day goes to David Brackett in the 38 machine. Rounding out your top 15 will be that 7 car of Ronnie Shirk Jr. We saw him put some noise up and have some good fights throughout the course of this race. Chris LeBourgeois comes home with a stationary 16th finishing position, right in front of the 17th finishing number 113 of Daniel Worthington. In the 18th position at the end of this one is CJ Mason in the number 55 car, and behind him will be the 71 of Michael Brisson. Rounding out your top 20, that car you saw coming across the line just barely under a small amount of momentum that it carried, running out of fuel, was Brian Terry.
Finishing 21st, it's Wes Wiggin, Adam Lancaster, 22nd, both of them 4 laps down. Alex Brown, I don't think we said that name at all, aside from the grid. He finishes a very quiet 23rd at the number 37, and Ryan Smith right there with him, 5 laps down. Nick Mills, we talked about him a couple of times. He finishes 25th. Tyler Reed, after his amazing start, falls all the way back to 26th spot. Mitch Smith right there with him, both 6 laps down, right there with Nick Mills. Gary Jaworski, unfortunately, after that wreck with Nicholas Noggle, does not recover, ends up 28th position. Matt Trineri, don't know really where he went, just kind of fell off of the race entirely, ends up 29th, 27 laps down, and Doug Neal in 30th position rounds out our 30-car field. It was certainly a doozy this afternoon, you guys. A whole lot going on all afternoon, and we have a whole lot going on at PitStop TV as well, and it's all thanks to these guys here, beginning with Tucson Sound Art. Your picture, your music, you provide the image you want, and we will custom create a beautiful framed high-quality canvas with a built-in Bluetooth speaker. With Sound Art, you get the best of both worlds. Visit TucsonSoundArt.com for additional information and to order. And if you use code PitStopTV at checkout, you receive 10% off of your purchase. So if you just ran into a little bit of Christmas cash, some gift cards, whatever, definitely hit these guys up. Go to Tucson Sound Art or Tucson, and get yourself a device today. These things are really, really cool. There's an ad that we play each broadcast that kind of explains the concept behind it, and basically it is just a device that you hang up on your wall. It's really, really easy to do so, and it plays music, and it looks great while doing it. Any moment from your life, be it a wedding, I don't know, a graduation, a race win, something like that, you can hang it up on your wall, and it looks super, super great. It holds a charge for quite a while, actually. I think it took legitimately days for mine to go dead the first time. It will hold a charge for a very surprising amount of time. It sounds great. It looks great. Definitely check these guys out. At the very least, on their social media, on Facebook and Instagram. Give them a shout, as well as Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine. Give them a shout on Facebook and Instagram, and go say hello to Ashley Bollier and her crew, a bunch of Permanent Makeup and Cryo specialists in the great state of Maine, stationed in Auburn, Lewiston, and I want to say Harrison, Maine. I'm blanking on that last one. I want to say it's Harrison. I could be wrong. You can call or text them at 207-358-8683, or go to permanentmakeupinmaine.com for more information today. Also, a big shout out, as always, to Whiplash Media, specializing in various sim racing resources, including paint schemes, stream overlays, iRacing camera packs, and more. Whiplash Media is also working on its presence in real racing, offering services like photography, social media management, and public relations. Go to whiplash-media.com for more information. And how could we close this broadcast out without thanking our series sponsors this afternoon? Of course, Rims One, Milner Media and Design. They've been with the series for a little while now, but Erich's Carpet Care, your spot and stain expert. Call 816-908-7426 today. They're a family-owned business, having been cleaning carpets, upholstery, and tile for over 20 years. They serve the greater Kansas City area, which is why they're sponsoring this race at Kansas Speedway. Isn't that fitting? So, again, call them at 816-908-7426 for an estimate today if you're in the Kansas City area and need some carpet care. And a little bonus to that as well, actually, Erich's Carpet Care has an A+ rating on the Better Business Bureau. Certainly some quality guys over there, and backing that number 9 car of Bryce Lee Hunter quite nicely. Actually, one of the nicer logos. Honestly, we've had a lot of logos, and not that any of them have been bad, but this one just kind of looks good. That sounds so bad, actually, but no, it just, I don't know, something sets it apart. It's got little sparkles, it's got the van in the background, it's got the guy cleaning the carpet. Honestly, it just kind of fits. But a massive thank you to everybody that supports the Bluegrass iRacing series, and continues to do so day in, day out. As I mentioned towards the top of the show, this is the final broadcast of 2020 here on PitStop TV. Noah, Joe, it's been a ride. And I think that's just one way that we could put it. There's been a lot that's gone on. From not even broadcasting at the start of the year. When I went into 2020, January 1st of this year, I had zero plans to start broadcasting again. Yet here we are, after an amazing run. I'm so glad that somehow along the line we decided to get back into it and to bring you guys on board.
Yeah, I came in here in the middle of the year when I was the Lucky Dog Sim Racing Challenge when they were at the Okayama circuit. That was the first time I had ever been here, and I've been here since then. I've been able to meet an incredible amount of people, both up here in the booth and down there on the track, through drivers and league owners. It's been incredible to see the different variants of sim racing events that we've been able to cover in the 6 months that I've been here, almost, with going from BRP on the dirt to, like I said, Lucky Dog and the Pacific Northwest Challenge of GT racing throughout the world, and even in NASCAR with series like Galaxy and Bluegrass alike. Just so many different variants of the RRL with the IndyCar series, even Pro Mazdas with SRCA. There's been so many different groups of people that I've been able to either spectate or be a part of watching, and it's just incredible just how diverse it really is on here, with the amount of leagues that you can find and people that you don't know, and just see how well they are, with people like Eddie Carter, who we saw racing in Galaxy, who ended up in the riding in the Pro Series and almost made it to the Coca-Cola Series. Just incredible to see all of it. I'm happy to be a ride, and I'm so excited to see what 2021 is able to bring to us.
Yeah, you meet so many great people doing this, not just in the drivers, but even in the crews too. But, you know, coming into this series and coming into the broadcast booth myself, I came in with this series. I came in with Bluegrass in a situation with Noah there, and obviously I had known Noah before that, but I hadn't known Andrew Cardinale, the producer of this broadcast, the leader in commentary tonight, as well as Trey Shuttlesworth on social media. I had never met these guys before this series, before I got the call to come help, and it's just been such a great experience to meet these people, both them and the teams and drivers of the series of Bluegrass and Pacific GT, and the one-off event with them with the Operation Motorsports 6-hour race. But it's just a great way to meet people who have the same interests as you, and to have people to talk about something you're so passionate about, let alone bring it to the various forms of social media, and to make these broadcasts and to meet racers. And it's just such a great place, and it's a good meeting point for all of us as racing fans to collaborate and talk and make connections and relationships with new people, and just get opportunities to do great things. And so it's just been an awesome ride through 2020. I'm just as much as I'm stoked for what 2021 is going to bring, and it'll be the same race for me to do my first broadcast of 2021 as it was for 2020, because my first race broadcasting with PitStop TV was the Charlotte race last season with these Bluegrass iRacing guys. So I'm looking forward to next week when we go to Charlotte. It'll be cool. It'll be fitting to be my first race of 2021 as well as 2020. It was at Charlotte, that race. But yeah, it's been a great ride. I'm excited for what the future holds, and we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely, and there's so many people that we've met over the course of 2020. Obviously, a very tough year for so many people, and we don't want to downplay any of that, but it's certainly been, I think, a really, really good year here at PitStop TV, and there's a lot to celebrate for us, at least. A lot of good things have happened. We've met a lot of good people. We've worked with a lot of great people, and a sincere thank you goes out to everybody that we've worked with over the course of 2020. Emerson Arden, Trey Patton, Trey Shuttlesworth, Noah Carmichael, Joe Donahue, Eric Brennan, Chris Nunn, Cole Freilich, Victor Valley, Margaret Beveridge. Extreme, sincere, massive thank you to all of you who've worked with us here at PitStop TV over the course of 2020. To all the leagues that we've broadcast over the course of the year, of course, the Bluegrass iRacing Series here tonight, the Operation E-Motorsport iRacing League, the Lucky Dog Sim Racing League, NORC Pacific Challenge, McConey Setup Shop, the BRP iRacing Series, the IORL, USR Ray. I'm probably missing something somewhere in between. Of course, a big thank you as well to the Sim Racers Club of America. We aren't with them anymore, but if not for the SRCA and Elijah DeGracia and everybody over there at SRCA, we wouldn't be here today. We wouldn't have gotten back into this, and a massive thank you goes out to them. A massive thank you goes out as well to everybody that we talk to and get ideas from and work with. I've talked with James Pike over the course of the year, Tony Stevens from Pit Road TV. So many people that really feed a lot of quality into what makes PitStop TV. A massive thank you to everybody, and a massive thank you to all the viewers as well who give us an even better reason to do all of this. After all of that, somehow we're going to have to close this thing off. There's so many words we can go on, keep saying, and we could thank so many more people, but eventually we've got to wrap it up, and that does conclude our coverage tonight of the Bluegrass iRacing Series. We at PitStop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. This is the final time we'll be live in the mess that has been 2020, and we thank everyone for joining us for the ride it's been. PitStop TV looks forward to the new year, and we'll see you all again for the first time in 2021 with coverage of the Pacific Challenge season opener at Donington on January 4th, 2021. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/PitStopTV, on Twitter at PitStopTV_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/Pit_Stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/C/PitStopTV1. For all of PitStop TV, Noah Carmichael, Joe Donahue, with me on the mic, Trey Shuttlesworth on social media, I'm Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you, and we will see you next year.